Atlanta. Newsom tried to make the point that he was no genius as a kid. He pointed to his low SAT scores, saying they indicate that he is, quote, just like you. Uh-oh. Because the show host is black, the governor was immediately accused of being racist, a cheap insult usually made against conservatives by liberals. But this time, it was vice versa. The R word, often used to demonize its target, perhaps cancel a person. Obviously, the ultra-liberal Newsom does not want to insult black Americans. His intent was to portray himself as a regular guy who eventually made it. Doesn't matter, Newsom was pounded. There are far better ways to dissent from Governor Newsom's agenda than to tag him with a dishonest label. His record in California is certainly up for scrutiny. But peddling hatred is much easier than honest analysis, as Gavin Newsom has learned the hard way. Back in a moment. More Americans are switching to all-family pharmacy because getting medication should not depend on your insurance company telling you no. If you already know what works for you and want real medical freedom, you have to choose the right pharmacy. All Family Pharmacy handles everything, including the doctor's prescription, ships right to your door. So please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/bill, use code BILL10, save 10% on your next order.
That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. For more news and honest analysis, please go to BillO'Reilly.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We'll be tracking highs towards lower 50s this afternoon, then late overnight into Thursday morning. Could see a few isolated chances of some showers. Will clear throughout the day, a high of 53 Thursday. Friday and Saturday going to be the days to be out and about. A lot more sunshine, highs close to 70 degrees Friday into Saturday, 64 degrees as a cold front pushes through. Then some chances of some rain-snow mixtures as we head off Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday into next week. Keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
We know it's early. Mike's not totally awake yet either. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
Today is the day, of course, where we react to and assess the State of the Union. Okay, what did you think about what the president had to say? What did you think about all the Democratic antics before, during, and after the State of the Union? All right, load us up with your comments. Let us know. Start sending them in. Going to have plenty of chances for you to comment on that, both social media, and you can call me 314-912-1019. Matter of fact, we're going to get started with our kind of interview coverage of this at 6:35. Ward Clark from RedState.com is going to be with us a couple hours from now, a few hours from now. The one and only Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal and, of course, the Tony Kinnett podcast, going to give us his thoughts on that as well. That's going to be around 8:05. But in the meantime, your thoughts are what matters on this. All right. Of course, yesterday wasn't just the State of the Union address. It was also kind of opening day for politicos in Missouri. It was filing day. At least that's when the candidates can begin filing to run for office to be on the August primary. And Dennis Hancock, he's announced his campaign. It's not a secret that he's running, but he stopped by the studio on Tuesday, kind of give us an outline of where the campaign goes from here now that it is official.
One of the biggest aspects, and I'm sure you get this everywhere when you're around the county talking to people, is, it's kind of a blue county, Republicans not everything's Chesterfield or whatever the case is. Bottom line is, can a Republican win in St. Louis County?
I think they can, Mike, and I've been looking at this for some time now, and and I've talked to an awful lot of people, especially people who are lifelong Democrats, who are just tired of the direction their party is going in. They're tired of all the woke stuff. They're tired of seeing it go farther and farther to the left. And they're looking for an alternative, somebody that's a fiscal conservative, somebody that understands what it means to have to go to work and to bring home a paycheck and hope the money doesn't run out before the bill, or hope the money doesn't run out before the bills run out. And so I think that a lot of those folks are looking for an alternative. They're tired of the slick talk. They want somebody who's experienced, who's seen these things before, and who understands how to get the job done. And I look at my record. I was a mayor for 12 years. I've been on the county council now for a little over 3, and I've got almost 40 years of management experience in the real world, managing people, managing processes, managing budgets. And those are the things I think that we need to bring to the county executive's office, is that level of experience to help solve the problems that we have in St. Louis County.
Dennis, you're no stranger to running for office, so you've been through this before. But just let folks know what the process is like when you're going to St. Louis County to file. How does that work?
Well, you go into the election board office and you are ushered over to a desk, and depending on if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you fill out the appropriate paperwork. You write them a check for the filing fee, and get some pictures taken while you're doing that, and then. When we're finished this morning, we're going to walk outside and greet, hopefully, quite a few of our supporters who are going to be on the parking lot waiting for us. And if anybody's looking for something to do this morning about 10:30, come to the election board office at Northwest Crossings, and we'll be there to greet people and to kick our campaign off in the right way.
Fantastic.
I think this is going to be one of the big. I mean, we've talked about the policies, and you and I and Susie, we've talked about the fact that the spending has to be dealt with, the cutbacks have to be dealt with. Voters are just not interested in new taxes, that sort of thing. But let's talk about the dynamics a little bit. It's interesting to me, and I talked to Brian Williams about this yesterday, or we did, and it's not even so much R versus D as it is council versus the executive right now. The way things go on the council. Republican and Democrat, you all work together really well, which is kind of a breath of fresh air, even when I disagree with the other side a little bit. But here's the question: is any of that stink going to stay on the office, and will the next county executive have to reform and, I guess, reinvent the office or rehab the office itself because of all of the conflicts and because of how that office has been abused in the past years? That's not fair, but is that something that might be a reality, whether it's you or Jake or Brian who's in that seat?
I think anytime you're new to an office, you're given a certain grace period to kind of put your own spin on things. That's the way it was when I was the mayor. That's the way it was when I assumed the office at the council. Is you have a certain period of time to let people know who you are, how you approach things, and what ideas you have. As far as the damage that may have been done to the county executive's office over the last 2 administrations, I think it's time to open a window and let in some fresh air. I think that we have to look at what are the differences going to be between myself and anyone else that might get in. My experience is that we have to look at different options than we have. I think that when you look at some of the things that have happened over the last several years, especially with the Page administration, and you mentioned the relationship with the council. I was elected vice chair of the council last year in a majority Democrat organization. Why? Well, because I can work with these folks. I know these folks, and when you get down to knowing each other on a personal level, you understand what their aspirations are. They understand what yours are. And what ends up happening is you have a common place to start from. Now, there are going to be certain issues that we are never going to agree on. But as long as those are few and far between, the rest of it, we're all pretty much aligned in what our goals are. We want a balanced budget. We want to provide good services for the residents of St. Louis County. And we want to make sure that we're giving the taxpayers a decent return on the investment that they're making in St. Louis County. And I think it takes someone with experience, someone with know-how, someone who's been there and done that to make that happen.
Dennis, speaking to that experience, because you have now served on the council for several years, do you feel like that gives you an advantage in terms of being able to transition into the executive role versus someone who would be coming in from the outside from the state legislature?
Well, I've also got 12 years of experience in the executive's office as a mayor.
Right.
So I know how to run a municipality. I know what it takes to make a budget. I know what it takes to make sure that potholes get fixed, make sure that the streets get plowed in the wintertime. I bring in a lot of outside experience as well. Like I said, I've been a manager for almost 40 years now, managing people and budgets and processes in the real world. And there are certain skills that translate very easily into the county executive's office.
Sure.
And so what I intend to do is maybe being on the council may give me a leg up in terms of what to expect and how to prepare for it. But I think that, the experience that I have that I'm going to be bringing with me is going to serve everyone in St. Louis County very well.
Okay, a lot of these things can be kind of, people think of it as being in the ether and just conceptual because we're talking about great big numbers and we talk about, 20, 30, 40, $50 million budget shortfall, which just means the county's overspending on stuff. That means that somebody's not going to like something getting cut. But it has to happen. How do you communicate that, and how do you work with not just the council, but the people of St. Louis County to say, listen, either something's got to give. It might as well be, a non-essential county program or some kind of whatever. How do you get that across to where there's buy-in to do the tough decisions? Because the tough decisions just have to be made right now.
Well, and I'll tell you, Mike, it comes down to what we did when Chrysler shut its doors in 2009. That was $1 million hit to our $6 million annual budget. So we had to make some hard decisions about what services we were going to cut, how we could cut things back. Could we improve efficiencies in the way we operated? One thing we didn't discuss was raising taxes. We knew we could do it. We could get there without that. But what we did was we looked at every service we provided and narrowed it down to what do we have to have, what's a nice to have. And I think that we started doing some of that in the county for this year's budget. And, then we've heard the county executive cry and complain for the last several weeks about all the terrible budget cuts we made. But the bottom line is, you're exactly right. We have to do that. And we can't just keep spending money like we have it. If we had implemented the county executive's budget for 2026, we would not have any reserve at all in the Rams fund. So I think that we have to have someone in the county executive's office who's been there, done that, and understands what you have to do to get to the favorable outcome on the other side.
Sure. Dennis, at this point, you all, we're basically dealing with a, for lack of a better term, lame duck county executive in multiple ways. But the council, as you've described, is actually working pretty well together as a legislative body. What agenda items are you optimistic that you all are going to be able to address in the coming months ahead of the election for the people of St. Louis County?
Yeah, with or without Sam Payton.
Yeah, with or without his buy-in.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we have to do is figure out what are we going to do with the county's headquarters building. Yeah. We have until the end of next year to either put in a fire suppression system and become compliant with the City of Clayton codes, or we have to find a new place to go to. My preference, and it's been one that I've been discussing since the day I sat down at my first council meeting, is to get a real price for what it's going to cost to make the building compliant and then go from there. There's plenty of vacant real estate around that we can move into on relatively short notice, so we don't need to do anything in that regard today. But what we do need to do is figure out what's it going to take to get us compliant, how long is it going to take to do that. And so tonight we're going to be addressing a bill that I introduced to give the council the ability to declare an emergency situation so that we can go out to the street and get the bids that we need to do it, because the administration won't do it.
Well, didn't he just cut off negotiations with somebody because it was like he was offended by something that was said, and the story didn't make any sense to me.
Well, the story didn't make any sense to me either, and I was there. But what he's done is he, as he normally does, he's completely hands off of this whole process. He sent people that work for him to negotiate a lease with, and if you want to talk about coming full circle, with the people who Steve Stenger signed the lease before he went to jail, and gave us a terrible deal at Northwest Crossings. Well, somebody made the decision we were going to negotiate with these folks, so we've been hearing from them. We've been hearing from the people that Dr. Page has sent to negotiate, and they came back and said, "Oh my gosh, these people are terrible to negotiate with. We can't get anything done. Blah 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 blah." And it's like, well, to go talk to somebody else. I mean, this isn't that complicated, but we've made it very complicated. So now, apparently, somebody talked to the press and gave them a story that he didn't like. So now he's cut off negotiations, and I guess we'll wait 30 days and see what comes back.
Okay.
But he may not be the one there to make that decision.
Okay, 314-912-1019. It's Wednesday already. You know what that means. We're going to put the call out for your bump music request for Flashback Friday. Not going to lie, we've had a kind of a slowdown in some of the requests. So some of y'all have great ideas and you're keeping them to yourself. Let's not do that. Make it hard for Jerome. Send him a lot of requests and make him sort through them. The good news is when he does that, he becomes even more immersed in 80s culture, and he learns more about this crucial part of American music history, which is the best ever. Just saying. All right, this is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
We're just not thinking long term.
I think the most important issue before us.
It's funny how these people who vote for him just don't seem to research the candidates.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's not pleasant to hear it, but Missouri is falling behind in its spending of state tax dollars, education, and health care. But there are ways to get Missouri moving forward again and produce a better life for all of us. That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together our 2026 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can move to a brighter future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from taxes to government transparency, from education to healthcare and budget reform. Let's allow students to attend the school of their choice. Let's adopt new proven methods to help the many school kids who can barely read. Let's limit state spending growth for Missouri's long-term financial stability. And let's invest in future needs with more nuclear energy. Why not common sense reforms to make things better for all Missourians? Check out our 2026 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com is your one-stop shop for expert insured tree care and more in the greater St. Louis region and at the Lake of the Ozarks. Visit hansonstree.com for 24/7 emergency tree care, grinding and land clearing, awesome organic mulch, green resource recycling, and more. Tim Jones here to tell you that whether you're dealing with old man winter at your home or business in the St. Louis region or preparing your lake home for spring, call Hanson's to help you out. No job too big or too small. Mention News Talk STL. Receive 10% off all tree care services. hansonstree.com, hansonstree.com.
Lower your car payment today. Lower your car payment today. Yes, you heard us right. You can lower your car payment right now by making this free call and save up to $1,400 a year on your current car payments. Think about your current car payment right now. What's that costing you per year? Now think about what it would be like to put an extra $1,400 back in your pocket. That's the average savings our customers experience. We can help you drive the same car and pay less every month by lowering your car payments interest interest rate to as low as 4.67%. At Rate Genius, we can work with you to refinance any car payment. If you qualify, it costs you nothing to find out how you can lower your car payment. To learn more, call this number right now.
800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. 800-493-5670. That's 800-493-5670.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, I think the State of the Union kind of went as expected, although you never know what President Trump's going to say.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, Republicans love it. Democrats hate it. Democrats. Here's the thing is that you expect Democrats to act like foot-stomping toddlers. And this has nothing to do with our disagreements on, like, policy and worldview and outlooks. But it's like they're going out of their way to turn off as many people heading into the elections as possible. Listen, the Republicans have made some bad mistakes. Now, they've got some stuff right, don't get me wrong, but the Democrats would really have more of a fighting chance if they would just not be crazy. But fortunately for the Republicans, the Democrats are like, you think that was crazy? Hold my beer.
Well, there is something about the snarkiness that I think appeals to the core Democratic voter base, but I do think that the more rational of the Democrats are looking at this behavior and saying, you're supposed to be professional politicians,
Right.
representatives, and you're acting like you said, a toddler throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah, I mean, and first of all, the State of the Union address says these have not become. This has basically become dueling campaign imagery and sound bites. I mean, you know, remember the original State of the Union address way back when, you know, when the country first started. This was not an oral speech, or oral speech. It's redundant, but this was not an in-person presentation. This was a letter delivered from the president to Congress of the State of the Union. Then, you know, quickly it became a speech. But there are times where having that sort of speech in times of crisis, you know, in times of economic uncertainty, in times of threat, you know, that the fact that the president does this is a very, very good thing. So, you know, we know what the president's vision for the rest of his last term is. Now, we knew that before. I mean, it's not like he's shy from cameras or microphones. He's out speaking all the time. But I'm just, and again, I agreed with some things I don't agree with him on, obviously. But I'm just kind of dumbfounded by the fringe leftist. And I know there's a lot of Democrats who listen to the show here, even though you disagree with us. And by the way, I love it. I love it. I'm glad that you're here. Wish you spoke up more. We could have these conversations. But there's a lot of Democrats that have to be looking at what happened last night and just embarrassed. Not necessarily because they disagree with what was being said, but because of the antics.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's some Democrats saying, well, what about Donald Trump's antics? Yeah, common sense people are embarrassed by some of his antics too. But if you compare the actions and the words, it came out in President Trump's favor, whether you like it or not. It just did.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and the Democrats who say we're going to boycott and we're not going to attend there. Okay. That just made you a non-factor. You know, okay, well, that's one thing. That's your right. That's your right. I respect that. But the screaming and the shouting and Al Green getting deported from the State of the Union again, I mean, who do you think you're helping with that? Let me tell you who you're helping with that, Democrats. You're helping Republicans.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. We have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri, a full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family, where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement, where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Magic Expeditions will make planning your Disney cruise easy. Reach out at magicexpeditions.com.
I'm in my late 60s. My husband died a few years ago. He did all of our taxes. I sold a piece of property last year, and I forgot to claim the proceeds of the sale. Next thing I know, I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I owe over $50,000. Now I have a huge tax problem. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I knew who to call.
If you sold property in the last calendar year or didn't claim all of your part-time or even retirement income, you could be in big trouble with the IRS. Call first before they send you a letter. If you've already got a letter, call. We'll help you file years of past tax returns and save you time and money. So call the tax doctor. The call is confidential and free.
800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. 800-240-4586. That's 800-240-4586.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Talk about stamina. President Trump has it. His epic State of the Union speech last night ran almost 2 hours, a record. Declaring the State of the Union strong, Mr. Trump doubled down on his tariff and immigration policies.
Just days after the Supreme Court struck down his global tariffs, the president said he will continue with tariffs through other regulations and that the tariffs will
substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax.
With justices sitting a few feet away, he described their ruling as unfortunate. The president also defended his administration's efforts to deport undocumented immigrants, and he announced Vice President Vance will lead a new effort called the War on Fraud. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And there were patriotic feel-good moments with the Olympic champion U.S. men's hockey team on hand and medals presented to military members and veterans. Democrat response:
Americans deserve to know that their leaders are focused on addressing the problems that keep them up at night.
Virginia's newly elected Democrat Governor Abigail Spanberger asking, is the president working to make life more affordable for you, your family? And Democrats not the only ones reacting to the Trump speech.
I think it was a good night for the president. It was certainly a celebration of all that is good for America and what America has meant. I thought it was a great night for the president.
Family Research Council President Tony Perkins giving Mr. Trump high marks for the address, chock full of viral moments we'll be seeing across the internet today and well beyond. $1 million. That's the size of the reward that's now being offered by Nancy Guthrie's family. A reward for information resulting in her recovery. She disappeared from her home several weeks ago. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are up 89 points. NASDAQ futures 78 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
If you're like most Americans nearing retirement with money in a 401k or IRA, then listen carefully. The U.S. dollar is under pressure. Foreign nations are reducing reliance on the dollar, and some analysts are openly warning about the long-term stability of U.S. currency dominance. Whether you call it currency debasement or the collapse of the dollar, the risk is real. And when confidence in the U.S. dollar shifts, gold and silver historically respond. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit. You'll also receive a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Most American retirement accounts are dramatically underallocated to precious metals, even as central banks continue buying gold at record levels. Many Americans are rolling over a portion of their retirement savings into physical gold and silver, tax and penalty-free with Advantage Gold. Call Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We'll be tracking highs towards lower 50s this afternoon, then late overnight into Thursday morning. Could see a few isolated chances of some showers. Will clear throughout the day, a high of 53 Thursday. Friday and Saturday going to be the days to be out and about. A lot more sunshine, highs close to 70 degrees Friday into Saturday, 64 degrees as a cold front pushes through. Then some chances of some rain-snow mixtures as we head off Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday into next week. Keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Are you a proud American? Then join us for the Lincoln Trump Dinner, March 20th at Old Hickory Golf Club in St. Peters, hosted by the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee. The evening features a VIP reception, dinner and program with live music by the Comparato Trio. Register online at stcharlesgop.com. Don't miss this celebration of America's 250th year, the Lincoln Trump Dinner. See you March 20th.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
The story behind the story, the blizzard that stranded hundreds of travelers on Texas highways.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Big guy, one of the biggest in the world.
Susie Moore.
Do you think he's ready?
He's not ready.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
I have a feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin.
Okay, got a news flash to start off the show.
What's that?
Yeah, it is Republicans love the State of the Union address and Democrats hated it. That's your news flash.
Shocker.
I know, exactly. All right, give us your thoughts on that. We're getting a lot of interesting comments coming in on Facebook and Rumble, and you can tweet at us and whatever you want. Also, an area school district takes action on dozens of books being challenged because of explicit content. This is an update to a story we've been covering. And here's the thing is that we're talking about the Francis House School District, but I'm telling you this is happening in pretty much every public school district. If you think that your public school district doesn't have this, they've just managed to fly under the radar. I would bet all the money in my wallet right now against all the money in your wallet right now that every public school district has something like this going on in their libraries, even if nobody's zeroing in on it. Right. So this is a much bigger thing than just one school district. And the UFL is adding some interesting new rules for the 2026 season. Yeah. 6:06 right now. Let's get started with the news dump here.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
Okay. President Trump, of course, delivering an upbeat State of the Union address, even as he was bickering with the Democrats during the address. Here's the story.
The president declared that the union is strong and is winning under his leadership.
Our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before.
There were feel-good patriotic moments featuring the Olympic champion U.S. men's hockey team and medals presented to military members and veterans. But there was also heckling and the president snapping at Democrats.
These people are crazy.
The immigration crackdown, spending cuts, and voter ID were other issues highlighted during the speech. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Okay, so the Democrats chose Governor Abigail Spanberger to deliver their rebuttal on this. You're yawning just by mentioning that.
What?
Okay, yeah, precisely. Here is part of her rebuttal.
Students organizing school walkouts all across the country, whose voices are becoming so powerful that the governor of Texas seeks to silence them. We see it in the bravery of Americans in Minnesota, standing up for their communities.
That's your response, huh? That's you want to run with that, huh? Democrats, really?
No, the students are doing the organizing.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting a lot of comments here. One straight up on Rumble. Ilan Omar seemed a little miffed at the mention of Somali fraud in Minnesota. Imagine that. Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah, get that. Allison says it was really sad to see the Democrats not stand or clap for America First. They showed their true colors when they would not stand for bills addressing fraud, illegal aliens killing Americans. And on Facebook, Scooter had one, which I don't have in front of me, but he had one from obviously the different perspective. What did he have to say?
Well, one of my favorite ones was he was surprised that Rep. Green got kicked out so soon. What exactly was his offense? Listening while black?
No.
No, it was causing a disturbance, standing up and holding a sign.
Yeah, and I don't even think it was the sign. I think it was the shouting.
That's what I'm saying, causing a disturbance while he was standing up holding a sign.
Yeah, so we've got, and Scooter had another one we'll get to here in just a little bit as
I do want to point out that he has a very good suggestion.
Which is?
Next State of the Union, there should be bump music by programmed by Jerome.
I like that.
That's good.
I like that.
I wish I'd come up with
because there was a flair for the dramatic.
There was.
I mean, and let's be honest, Republican, Democrat, whatever, whoever's watching or listening right now, the way that they did the grand entrance of the hockey team, that was pretty cool.
It was.
That was pretty awesome. I mean, that was, I love that part of it. Everybody should.
Yeah.
All right, other things going on here. Okay, let's get a little more serious. We've got an update on the story in Southwest Missouri here. The man who killed 2 sheriff's deputies in Southwest Missouri after a traffic stop and shootout had a history of violence against police.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Richard Byrd was convicted of aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer in Kansas back in 2016, and he was sentenced to 8 years in prison for that crime. Now, when the shootings happened Monday and then Tuesday, because there was the manhunt and then the shootout on Tuesday, Byrd was out on bail connected to 2 theft charges in Stone County, Missouri. Byrd was killed in that shootout. He killed Christian County deputies Gabrielle Ramirez and Michael Hispol, and two other deputies, Josh Wall from Christian County as well, and Austin McCall from Webster County, were shot, but they survived.
Thankfully.
Yes. 7:05, so just about an hour from now, we're going to talk to former Missouri Speaker of the House, Elijah Haar, who now does a radio program at KWTO in Southwest Missouri. So he's covering this very closely. We're going to have an update from that community right there. Okay, a woman with close ties to former Mayor Tashara Jones is sentenced to 3 years in prison.
Whoops.
KMOV's Corey Stark reported on this last night.
Corey Elliott is a contractor whose companies received numerous city contracts and grants over the last several years. In November, she pleaded guilty to federal wire fraud charges in connection to pandemic relief funds. Well, today, Elliott was sentenced to prison and ordered to repay the $1.7 million she acquired through fraud.
And those loans were obtained through 2 business entities, and those were, obviously before the criminal charges, among those that were forgiven by the government.
Okay.
Yeah, many of those. Yep. All right, I'm going to tap into your lawyer noggin here.
All right.
Okay, on this. The Utah judge presiding in the case against Tyler Robinson, who's the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk, has dismissed a motion by the defense. And that motion was to disqualify state prosecutors because they were arguing there was a conflict of interest with the prosecutors. And it's a little complicated here. Utah 4th District Judge Tony Groff took up the motion from the defense, saying that the daughter of prosecutor Chad Grunander was at the Utah Valley University on the day that Charlie Kirk was ill. So the prosecutor's daughter was there, saying, well, that creates a conflict of interest. Here's what the judge had to say.
The court is persuaded by the evidence presented that daughter is not being called to testify because she has no uniquely relevant testimony to give, and the state has access to much stronger evidence from other witnesses.
Okay, so bottom line, what does that mean?
It just means that simply because she was there in the crowd doesn't make this a conflict of interest.
Right.
If she were uniquely situated so that she had special evidence that she was privy to that other witnesses were not, so that they would need to call on her to testify, if she was going to be a witness in the case, then yes, there might very well be an argument that there's a conflict of interest, so the prosecutor shouldn't be handling the case. But just because she happened to be a spectator that was present doesn't meet the bar.
Okay, so bottom line here is somebody may say, well, what a desperate throw mud at the wall attempt by the defense, but that's their job, is to do anything to derail the prosecution. And before people get mad at that, if we don't have a robust defense, then we don't have a justice system.
Yeah, no, they are doing their job. They're not just going willy-nilly at stuff. That's actually, it's a colorable argument to make. I think the judge made the right decision here, but I don't blame them for bringing that motion. That's what they're doing to zealously represent their client.
Right. Okay, the Freedom 13's gala is not until Friday, but you can bid on the silent auctions now. And you don't have to have a ticket to the gala to bid on the auctions. Anybody can get involved in that part of it. You can find the gala's link at thefreedom13.org to see the auction and to submit your bids. Okay, Francis Howell Families tells us about 2/3 of the books being challenged because of explicit and other inappropriate content are being removed or restricted from the libraries, with most of those books being removed. The committee was put together to review all of those challenged books, and they agreed with the challenges 64% of the time. Yeah, so far, 22 books have been removed completely due to explicit sexual content, and I read a couple of the quotes from the book. I can't read that on the radio, let's put it that way.
It is truly explicit.
It's really, 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 really bad. Okay, a couple quick notes here. The Billikens' run in the national rankings is likely over after this week. Yeah, they lost to Dayton on the road last night. Final score was 77-62. There's no way they stay in the top 25 after this. But they had a very, very good run in it. I still think they're going to go to the NCAA tournament, but they're done in the top 25. I think.
Make a run in the tournament.
Okay, this is interesting. The UFL announces new rules for the 2026 season. Among them, no punting allowed once a team crosses the 50-yard line. You get to the 49, you either have to go for it on 4th down or try a field goal.
Okay.
The only exception is the last 2 minutes of the half. They're going to allow that. But for the most part, you can't do that. But get this. Field goals made from at least 60 yards are going to be 4 points instead of 3.
They just introduced the 3-point shot.
Exactly. Because there was a time, Jerome, when the 3-point shot did not exist.
In basketball.
Huh.
Yeah.
It was before it predated you.
Yes. I played high school basketball without a 3-point line.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Check out the Battlehawk social media pages for a description of the rest of the new rules.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Democrats have chosen to become utter nutters.
On NewsTalk-STL.
Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Very active, very fun chat box. Cinderfer. Hi, Cinderfer.
Hey, how you doing?
She says, yo, Vic, baby. Verbatim, yo, Vic, baby. With an exclamation point. How else are you supposed to read that? I was driving, had to pull over to comment. I was going to say how sexy the beard is. But I'm afraid of your wife.
Hey, I'll tell you what, I would be.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on NewsTalk-STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here, inviting you out for a great night of fun and rock and roll with the Queen Tribute Somebody to Love, Friday, March 20th at the Mill in Granite City. My band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, opens the show, followed by the ultimate Queen experience from Somebody to Love. That's Friday, March 20th at the Mill, Granite City's premier concert and event venue, brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Support local music and join us for a great party. Tickets and info now at themill.events.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
One time a thing occurred to me. What's real and what's for sale? You were kissed and tried to take it home.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, please keep these comments coming on social media. One straight up on Rumble. The Republicans piss me off a lot, but the Democrats are beyond the pale, in my humble opinion. He goes on to say, Scalise seemed to get a kick out of Trump's shout out to Mamdani's ID requirement for shoveling snow. Shows just how ridiculous the voter ID issue is with the leftists. So we're keeping an eye on all of those. Facebook, I think they're coming in on Facebook too. So
yeah, there were some great moments where the camera work was just top notch.
Really
they knew exactly who to focus in on that moment, and it captured it perfectly. There was one point where they were focusing on Michael Bennet, senator from Colorado, behind Elizabeth Warren.
Right.
And he wasn't, but he looked like he just wanted to cry. Like the look on his face was so like.
See, here's the thing is that when you're going to sit there, you know that you're a character in the play.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I mean, if I were in Congress, and thank the good Lord above, I am not.
Woohoo!
But this to me would be one of the worst nights of the year, whether it's your party in power or not, because you are basically there to be a backup dancer. And you're warned constantly at any moment the cameras could be on you. Always assume the cameras are on you, especially if you're in the opposition party, and so there is not a moment to actually just focus and process on what's being said. You've got a role to play as a character in the show.
What, you don't think Congress critters like playing a role?
Yeah, I think a lot of them do, but can you imagine just like, listen, I don't care how uncomfortable that is, do not pick that thing out of your nose, because they're going to catch that and you're going to be on social media.
Well, you shouldn't be doing that when you're sitting in public anyway.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying.
Grab a tissue or run to the restroom.
Sometimes sometimes you just got to clean house. I'm just saying.
Not when you're in public. Grab a tissue and run to the restroom. My goodness.
Sometimes you got a hock a loogie,
I know. You just...
Ew.
Good morning.
He's raised by wolves? What the hell?
Now, I would like to address Scooter's question about Rep. Green being removed, because Scooter was insinuating it had something to do with the skin color. I looked into it. It was for resisting address. That's why he was
resisting address. The address. There it is. No, he had a sign that said black people are not apes, and he's referring to that video thing. Which if he had that up, okay, he's making a point. I mean, that issue is kind of coming on, but he's making a point, and we called that out here as well. But it was the screaming and the yelling, and he did the same
I was gonna
thing
say,
that he did
the exact
last
same
year.
thing last year. He stood up and raised his cane and rattled it at it until they had him escorted from the chamber. He knows that is his shtick.
Yep.
This is not about picking on Al Green, and there were plenty of people of color that sat through the State of the Union address, even people that don't agree with President Trump.
And he knew. I mean, maybe he just wanted to call it a night early, and so I heard a story once of a manager who told the umpire, "Hey, I got to get kicked out of the game here. I got to pick up my wife at the airport. So here's what I'm going to do."
Right.
And I think that Al Green he was making his point, do the theatrics, get on video, try to fire up the base, get ejected so that you can go home and, get a cup of tea or whatever and go sleep.
Right. It was all part of the plan.
Yeah, it was all theatrics. It really was. All right, update to a story. I just mentioned this in the news dump here. It's got the spotlight on Francis Howell School District, but it's the kind of thing happening in pretty much every public school district. And I'm not even going to say just the area. I think it's happening in every public school district. Taxpayers funding smut for kids. I mean, that's really what's happening. And so in a little over an hour, we're going to talk to Jane Puszkar about this because she was leading the charge. And a part of leading the charge was pointing out that it's there. And this isn't the only school district. So, as we know that she was frustrated with the requirements to challenge these books. And of course, when you do this, you have to understand you're going to be framed as the book banner, the book burner.
Right.
That's how you're going to do that. And to some degree, you are trying to ban the books. But let's look at the context.
Mm-hmm.
So what the argument is saying we're not trying to outlaw these books from being written or being published or somebody being able to buy them or being able to read them. But the argument was some things should not be funded by taxpayers and provided directly to minors, directly to children, especially without their parents' knowledge or consent.
Which I don't know how you argue.
I don't know how you argue that. But the Librarians Association is big on this because unfortunately the Librarians Association has gone from, the people who really care about literature and want people to read to basically participating in the grooming of children through public institutions. That's really what they've done. That's what they've become.
Well, and the insane thing is how many compilations there are of videos of parents that find out what their children are being exposed to. They go to the school board to read sections from it, and the school board tries to cite obscenity rules or language, graphic language. But these are the books that you are allowing in your school. So if I can't read this book to the school board because it's inappropriate, why are you allowing it to be given to minors?
So I found this on the Francis Howell family's website.
Okay.
And so they just published a link a couple days ago, on saying, here's the update on these challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were very smart in saying, we're not going to copy and paste the snippets in this blog post. Here are the links to the snippets of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they basically direct you to a page that specifically is about problems with books in schools and for children. And so there they had the clips of it, or the part of it. Excerpts is the word I'm looking for.
Yes, yeah.
And I got to tell you, it was really bad. Listen, I got a libertarian streak in me, and
He's
I
blushing right now.
I was appalled.
He's blushing.
It was really, really bad. And to think those were in the public schools library. Listen, if you want, somebody wants to go out and buy 50 Shades of Grey or whatever the books are out there now. I mean, I know that's a few years ago, but that kind of thing. Listen, go buy it. Go do whatever. I mean, but we're talking about targeting children with this because it wasn't biology. It wasn't about the public issue debates over sexuality. I mean, it was full on pornography, and yes, pornography can be in text,
written word. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very explicit. And there's a difference between saying, I want to ban the books and nobody's allowed to read this or publish it, or you're going to go to jail for writing it. That's not what was up there. It's saying taxpayers should not be making this available and giving access to children for this type of thing. Yeah. And so far, about 2/3 of the books, the committee that was put together by the school district agrees with that. So they're either removing them outright or they're restricting them, and then we'll find out from Jane what those restrictions are. What we got, Jerome?
We have our good friend Dave who has some thoughts on this from a parent's perspective.
All right, Dave, you're up.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing all right.
First of all, I have to say I was one of those lazy parents who was busy busting my ass, working 60, 80 hours a week trying to provide for my family. so my wife could do something stupid like stay home and raise our kids. So I was one of those lazy parents. It's amazing that we used to keep our perverted closeted. Now they're educating our kids. I got to sign a form to send my kid to the beautiful Powell Symphony Hall to watch a wonderful orchestra. But these people are going to shove perversion right in front of my kid's face, and they think that we're going to tolerate it.
They're thinking that you're not going to see it.
Yeah.
Well, the amazing thing, and I told my wife this, and she goes, "Oh, you're crazy." Well, there's probably a good probability of that. But when they slid health class in, and they transformed it from health class to sex ed, it seems to me, I might be wrong, when everything started going haywire. I don't need some, let's just say, perverted woman teaching my 15-year-old boy how the birds and the bees work. That, to me, is for mom and dad. Now, you want to teach them the basics of the difference between male and female, because I guess Ketanji Jackson Brown won't be there to let them know about that. But that's, to me, whenever the switch got flipped and the perversion started sliding in, and now it's just like they're all hardcore perverts. What happened to the closeted perverts that did their perversion in private with other consenting adults?
Hey, Dave, thanks for the call. I got a couple thoughts on that. One is that I think you go back to not only the Alinsky era, I think you also go back to the beginning of probably the second waves of feminism as well. I think that what happened is that what used to be taboo and shameful became celebrated and promoted, and what happened is that the extreme, and I'm talking about cultural, not necessarily political, although they're generally the same thing, cultural left looked at the schools, the public schools, which is a captive audience and an institution, and looked at that and changed it from this is a foundation to provide an educated populace, and turned it into this is how we're going to teach children what to think, and we're going to change culture, and we're going to rewrite the essential values that we've had culturally and societally for generations.
Right. We went from focusing on being educational to being ideological.
Correct.
And it didn't happen overnight. It happened subtly and in different ways. But yeah, that's where we are. So that basically every subject that you could possibly teach in school is now viewed through the prism of ideology, as opposed to just providing the information and teaching students how to think critically.
Right.
And develop their own opinions about things.
Yeah, thinking critically is now defined as opposing something that's Christian or conservative or just overall Judeo-Christian ethos as far as ideologically. That's what's considered thinking critically, is how to oppose those values.
Yeah, well, that's not the way it works.
No, and that's one of the reasons that the most important weapon we have against that, yes, it's people like Jane and people who are fighting this at the school board level, but it's also the push for complete school choice as well.
Yep.
Now, on a lighter note, I'm going to go ahead and issue the first call for 80s bump music for Flashback Friday. Also, let's compare the president's speech to leftist antics. We'll dig into that at 6:35.
One time a thing occurred to me. What's real and what's for sale? You were kissed and tried to take it.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We'll be tracking highs towards lower 50s this afternoon, then late overnight into Thursday morning. Could see a few isolated chances of some showers. Will clear throughout the day, a high of 53 Thursday. Friday and Saturday going to be the days to be out and about. A lot more sunshine, highs close to 70 degrees Friday into Saturday, 64 degrees as a cold front pushes through. Then some chances of some rain-snow mixtures as we head off Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday into next week. Keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobblers, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I think this was one of his best because he gave he laid out what a mess it was before. We have to remember that. The things that he's done in a year to fix the problems. I mean, securing the border, lowering crime, doing all these things, and then an optimistic view about America moving forward.
And that was Senator Eric Schmidt responding to the State of the Union address last night. Some things are just very, very predictable. Donald Trump is going to say big, provocative things. Donald Trump is going to, and any president is going to tout their accomplishments, lay out what they want Congress to do, and then the opposition party is going to wag their finger and talk about how wrong they are, except this involved wagging signs and canes and screaming and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. And so what was the best part of the president's State of the Union? What was the worst? Let's compare the notes on that. Please send us some notes on that because we're getting a lot of hot takes on this, and these are kind of fun. So send them to us on the Rumble chat box, Facebook. You can tweet them at us. You can also email us as well. We're now joined by Ward Clark from RedState. All right, let's start with the assessment of like the content of it, Ward. Then we'll compare, the activities and the behaviors. Overall, the president follows the playbook, but it's President Trump, so he puts spotlights on specific areas. What was your takeaway, your key takeaways from the charge that he was basically giving to Congress as far as what he wants to do in the last part of his term?
Well, just to start with, I'll say this was probably the best State of the Union I've seen, and I saw all of Ronald Reagan's State of the Union addresses. Trump knows how to work a crowd. He knows how to appeal to an audience. He's a marketing guy above everything else, and that's big part of what he was doing last night. His mission to Congress was very simple. He was talking to the Republicans because there's no point in talking to the Democrats, as he repeatedly pointed out. They wouldn't even stand up for anything he mentioned. Although they did stand up for the medals of honor that were handed out, that at least they aren't that blind. But no, he charged Congress, look, without Congress acting, a lot of what he's done isn't going to last. It's only temporary. It's only there until the next Democrat president takes office. And sooner or later, one will.
Right. Ward, you mentioned that you contrasting last night with some of Reagan's speeches, which I don't quite remember them. I know I would have watched them back in the day, but none of them particularly stand out to me. But one of the things that I was noticing last night or thinking about last night as, the speech was going on towards its second hour, remember, was it 2 years ago when Joe Biden was getting prepped to deliver his last State of the Union address, and there was all this suspense about whether or not he was going to make it to the Capitol from the White House?
And by the way, Ward, Susie just very politely called you old. I'm just saying.
He knows that.
Yeah. Well, if the shoe fits. I was actually a Reagan campaign volunteer in 1980, which sounds more impressive than it is. I handed out a lot of bumper stickers. But you remember bumper stickers?
Oh, yeah. No, you did your part.
Yeah, I did my bit. No, it's an incredible contrast with Biden, just as it was last year. And last year it was not really a State of the Union, but he did it nonetheless and laid out what he wanted to do. And last night he was able to count coup on a lot of things that he did do that he said a year ago. But the contrast with Biden, you mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned that because it couldn't have been more stark. Biden could barely stand up and keep from drooling on his shirt front in his last State of the Union. I mean, we were all watching that and waiting for him to just fall over. It was that bad. He had no animation. Of course, Joe Biden's never shown a lot of animation except when he was attacking Robert Bork. I think was the last time he showed any real animation for anything.
Yeah, back in the 80s. Yeah. Hey, Ward, you mentioned the president marketing to Republicans because there's no point in talking to Democrats. I think you're spot on that, of course. What about the Democratic antics? I'm not even talking about Abigail Spanberger's rebuttal. I'm talking about the antics during the speech, the interrupting, the shouting, Al Green, getting himself kicked out again. Who are they marketing to, and what is conceivably, possibly the goal of acting like that when normal people, non-political people would look at that and say, I would kick you out of dinner if you did that at the restaurant?
Well, Al Green is, I'm trying to think of an FCC compliant way to say what Al Green is. So I guess I'll just leave it up to the listeners' imaginations. He's something that you'll find at the south end of a northbound horse. That's what Al Green is. You can count on him acting that way. As for I think Ilhan Omar, I think, had one outburst. I think Rashida Tlaib had an outburst. They should have been ejected from the chamber. And frankly, Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer should be taking these people aside and telling them, what are you doing? What do you think you're going to accomplish with this other than make us look like childish idiots? Because that's what they did. That was their chief accomplishment. But they are talking to their base, and that's the Democrats' base now, is the radical left. They don't seem – I think John Fetterman's the last moderate Democrat there is. Yeah. And even he was sitting there looking at his phone during some of the speech, which is rude, but at least it wasn't an outburst.
And at least he was in a suit.
Yeah, that was amazing. He didn't show up in his sweats.
Yeah, in his and one sweats from Walmart.
No, he was not.
Yeah.
Ward, another contrast is, of course, the Speaker of the House. Instead of having Nancy Pelosi chewing on her lip behind the president while he spoke and then ripping up the speech at the end, we had Speaker Mike Johnson, who does a very studied job in keeping his facial expressions to a minimum. But talk about that too. I mean, when you, I guess there was a little highlight of the speech when Trump called out Nancy Pelosi directly.
Yeah, that was great. We all remember her tearing up that speech, which was one of the most childish and petulant acts by an elected representative of the people I've ever seen. I mean, it's my 5-year-old grandson would show more decorum than that. But yeah, that was a beautiful call, and I wish they'd have turned around and caught her facial expression when he did that, because she was out there trying to stay awake out in the audience. And I would suspect she was partway down a vodka bottle before she showed up. Who is it that calls her a granny box wine? Oh, no, that's Hillary Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
They all kind of blend together after a while, all these old, bitter Democrat women.
And I want to be fair on this, Ward, is that if I knew I was going to have to spend 90 minutes listening to any politician, I may sneak in a bottle myself.
That's fair.
I had a drink while I was listening, and I love President Trump's speech. I love that was one of the best I've ever heard. But yeah, it always goes a little better with some comestibles.
There you go. Hey, okay, so Ward, let's talk about some of the policy impact on this. I think what I'm seeing, and a lot of people are pointing to the president saying, okay, stand if you think that, I'm paraphrasing here, we should put Americans before illegal aliens, and not a single Democrat stood. Now, I'm sure, made up their mind they were not going to participate in any of the theatrics, but that visual that happened was incredibly stark, and that was such a smart move by the president. Whether you agree or disagree with him, you have to acknowledge, if you're objective, that was a very, very smart move in that speech.
It was, and it was a campaign ad just waiting to be used. They should, the National Republican Campaign Committees should blast that all over every single social media page, every television network, anywhere they can find that will run it. And from now until November, because that sums them up more than anything. He says we want to put Americans first over illegal immigrants, and they sit there. That was beautifully done.
Ward, you we are thankful for the fact that you served your country. You served in the Army as a military veteran. What was your reaction when the medals were being bestowed on the various guests that were there last night?
Oh, that it was a heartwarming moment. The Democrats did stand for that. I'll give them credit for that. They did stand for that, and how could you not? The Medal of Honor is it's as you know, Susie, it's the highest military award you can get, that you can receive, and it's wrong to say that you won a Medal of Honor. It's not something that you really associate with winning, because as you saw last night, a lot of those people are horribly injured in the course of the heroic actions that resulted in them being awarded the medal. But these left, right, center, whatever, these are true blue American heroes, and you can't deny that. That's why for that even the Democrats had to stand up. But that helicopter pilot and a World War II veteran, you know how few World War II veterans there are left. That was, again, a beautifully done moment. And you didn't get the feeling that he was doing it to pander either. You get the feeling he was doing it out of genuine respect for these heroes. He wanted to put them in front of the nation and say, these are our finest.
We're visiting with Ward Clark from RedState.com. Okay, let's talk about where we go from here. The State of the Union address, I always kind of look at that as, basically another launching pad for policy debates and bills and direction of government. What kind of momentum, if any, do you think could be built from this, either for the Republicans or maybe for the Democrats in opposition, although I don't think the Democrats' behavior really scored a lot of points, admittedly, because I am biased on the whole thing, but I don't think that what Abigail Spanberger, was trying to trumpet as the heroic, defending our communities in Minnesota, meaning pro-illegal alien. So where do we go from here? What kind of momentum can this provide in the coming weeks or months, whether it's the partial shutdown or anything else?
Well, they're going to have to do something about tariffs if they want to keep that going. And the trouble is, I don't know if there's enough majority support among Republicans in the House of Representatives. Several key Republicans just aren't in favor of tariffs at all. And the workaround after the Supreme Court decision, the workaround that the Trump administration seems to have found is only allows, 150 days?
Yes.
Up to 15% and for 150 days. That's taken away part of his negotiating, a big part of his negotiating tactic that will slam you with 100% tariffs unless you come and make a deal. And already people are talking about, we want our money back. And that's not going to work. So Congress has got to do something on tariffs. I'm not sure what form that's going to take. But if the president wants to have that stick to wield, Congress is going to have to do something about it. The other thing I'm worried about, and he only mentioned this kind of tangentially, is Iran. Now, that doesn't involve Congress, but he's still got Jared Kushner. He's still got people talking to Iran or trying to talk to Iran. And the only reason I can see for talking to these people right now is that so later when the bombs start falling, we can say, well, we tried to talk to them. Iran is insisting that they're going to keep working on, as they put it, peaceful nuclear power. Well, they're lying. That's what they do. And we're going to have to shut it down sooner or later. Iran cannot be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. And apparently we didn't get all of their nuclear facilities, because we've got at least one report saying they're only a few days away from bombs-grade material. And I thought we had buried all that stuff under tons of rock and concrete, but apparently not.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously we don't know all the details, but there is some concern that's being raised. And we saw Kushner there at the speech last night, but those, as you pointed out, those discussions are going on. And one of the things that I don't think got really talked about as much as I thought it might was the fact that we are in the middle of a shutdown.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a partial shutdown, but I was a little surprised he didn't emphasize that just a little bit more.
Yeah, it is just a partial, and it's mostly affecting Homeland Security. I know Global Entry, which I used to use a lot when I was traveling a lot, that's shut down. The pre-check is still going. Matter of fact, my wife and my in-laws just went through pre-check the other day after the shutdown, so it's still operating. And yeah, it wasn't mentioned much, and that may have been a little bit of a lost opportunity there. That was a really good thing to hammer Democrats on, saying they did this over illegal immigrants. Right. That was basically the issue on which this whole thing turned, was illegal immigrants. They want to hamstring our ICE agents who are in the field rounding these people up. They want them to have and yeah, I understand some people are uncomfortable with law enforcement wearing masks, but they're not wearing masks to hide their identity. They're wearing masks because there are maniacs out there who would attack in their homes and attack their wives and children. If Democrats would stop, threatening them, they wouldn't have the need to wear masks.
All right,
but that didn't. Yeah, that was kind of a missed opportunity there to talk about that and hammer the Democrats on it. He did a little bit though with the beautiful putting Americans first thing that they refused to stand for.
Yeah. All right, Ward Clark, RedState.com. Man, great chat with you again. Thanks so much for the perspective here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ward. If you are not going to the Freedom 13's gala this week, you can still be a part of supporting them, and we're going to tell you how in the news dump at 6:50.
Mike Ferguson.
It is like rantings in Cran by somebody having an LSD trip.
Susie Moore.
You do a Jekyll and Hyde kind of routine around here.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
When water troubles strike, call the family you can trust. Tim Jones here for Ambassador Plumbing, serving our community since 2018 with 25 years of master plumbing expertise from Tim Morris and his hand-picked team. Whether it's a simple faucet repair or a complete bathroom remodel, if water runs to it or through it, they do it. From residential service calls to commercial to new construction, the folks at Ambassador are your neighbors treating you like family. Ambassador Plumbing, where faith meets craftsmanship. 636-383-6932 or ambassadorplumbing.com. That's ambassadorplumbing.com.
This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration, custom foam, and Lee-May concrete block. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, Chris Arps from the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Make sure that you're listening to our show this afternoon from 4 to 6. Now back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show.
Good choice. I love this song.
Thank you.
I haven't heard this one in forever.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah, Bush does not get enough recognition for their contributions to the grunge scene.
I don't think they're around anymore. Like some of those bands have come back and done a little bit of touring, but I don't think they're still around.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a great song.
It was.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. We got a lot of reaction to the State of the Union, obviously, and the one area school district taking action on dozens of books being challenged. So we're going to talk to Jane Puszkar about that around 7:35, but I'll give you the basic details just ahead. And the Billikens' run in the national rankings is in all likelihood over. I will tell you why. Let's go ahead and squeeze in one more news dump here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
You know, I mean, they got all the news.
The morning news dump.
All right, to follow up our conversation with Ward Clark just now, President Trump doubling down on tariffs and his anti-illegal immigration policy during the State of the Union speech.
Just days after the Supreme Court struck down his global tariffs, the president said he will continue with tariffs through other regulations and that the tariffs will
substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax.
With justices sitting a few feet away, he described their ruling as unfortunate. The president also defended his administration's efforts to deport undocumented immigrants, and he announced Vice President Vance will lead a new effort called the War on Fraud. Greg Clugston, Washington.
All right, and Democratic Governor Abigail Spanberger was the rebuttal speaker for the Democrats, and she did not have any good things to say about the State of the Union address.
Of course not.
To nobody's surprise.
The president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. And he offered no real solutions to our nation's pressing challenges, so many of which he is actively making worse.
Okay, the Freedom 13's gala is not until Friday. We were talking about that for a couple of weeks. And so ticket sales are done. You've either got your ticket or you didn't. Right. But you can still be involved. You can still bid on the silent auction items now. And you don't have to have a ticket to the gala to bid and to win. So you can find the gala's information at thefreedom13.org. And you can bid on anything there. That bidding runs through, I think, Friday. By the way, today is Lance Corporal Jared Schmidt's birthday. He would have been 25 years old.
This would be his golden birthday.
Today would have been the golden birthday. Freedom 13 is celebrating him, and you are actually invited to join on this. They're going to have food, drinks, and live music at Town Square Pub and Grill and at TS Sugar Shack starting at 6 p.m. More information if you want to just kind of show up and hang out and party with them, thefreedom13.org for more information on that. Okay, Francis Howell Families tells us about 2/3 of the books being challenged because of explicit and other inappropriate content being removed or restricted from the libraries. A committee was put together to review the challenged books, and they agree 64% of the time with the challenges on this. So far, 22 books have been removed completely due to explicit sexual content, and we're going to talk to board member Jane Puszkar about that at 7:35.
Very good. Yeah, and I think if you're a parent that's concerned about books not being available to your children, you can go check them out. And if you want to share them with your children, that's your prerogative.
Yep, you can get them.
Okay.
Yeah, there are things called other libraries, or there's this thing called Amazon.
Yeah.
You can do that if you want. Just taxpayers are being challenged to not provide smut to children.
Right.
Yep. All right, the Billikens' run in the national rankings probably over after this week. Yep. SLU lost to Dayton on the road last night. Final score 77-62. Billikens came into the game ranked 23rd in the nation, but they've lost twice over the last 2 weeks. They are 25-3 on the season. They are in first place in the Atlantic 10. They are going to the NCAA tournament, but they're likely going to be one of the lower seeds in the regional on this, and they're going to drop out of the top 25 after this game. Cardinals lose to the Nationals in spring training. Final score was 6-1 there. Birds are back in Jupiter for today's game. Home game, they host the Mets. That is at 12:10. I did not see any TV or streaming coverage of that one. So unless you've got like MLB Network on your satellite radio, I don't think you're going to be able. I'm not even sure that's going to be broadcast on that. Yep. All right. The UFL announces new rules for the 2026 season. Some of these are interesting here. Now, like one of them, for instance, they're going to do the college rules on receivers catching the ball as opposed to the NFL rules. 1 foot down inbounds is a completion, whereas the NFL you have to have 2, and they say that's actually for player safety reasons. But they're also saying no punting allowed once a team crosses the 50-yard line. So you pass or rush, and you get to from the 45 cross the line to the 48 or whatever. But you're fourth down and whatever, you can't punt at that point. You have to go for the first down. Or you have to try to kick a field goal. You cannot punt once you're past that 50-yard line.
I feel like from a practical standpoint, that's usually the option anyway. Like that's what is chosen to do.
It has been in the UFL for sure.
Yeah, just in general. I mean, you don't see a lot of punts from inside the 50.
Yeah. Well, now, unless there's like a minute or 2 minutes left in the half, you can't do it at all. By rule, you can't do it. But here's the other interesting part on this. Field goals from at least 60 yards out. So from the 50-yard line or beyond it. That would be a 4-point field goal.
Yeah.
That's really
that is new and
I
different.
actually kind of like that. I'm going to be really honest. I kind of like that. And you know what one of the residual effects of this is going to be? If you've got a field goal kicker who's kicking 60, 62-yard field goals regularly, you know what's going to happen to that field goal kicker? He's going to get hired by the NFL. He's going to the NFL.
True. That's true.
He's going to the NFL. That's what's going to happen. So this is a way the players have got to love this because it's creating more opportunities for a lot of those guys. It's going to be interesting. UFL's doing some really kind of cool things with this creative approach.
They are.
Hey, it's Vic and Ken with something important.
Yeah, Missouri's veterans aren't done serving, they're leading.
Join us March 5th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Washington University's historic Holmes Lounge for the next mission, Missouri's Veterans Leading the Way.
Hear from General Frank Grass, former member of the Joint Chiefs, plus veteran leaders from Equifax and Scale AI.
Business leaders, veterans, and community members from across Missouri. This conversation on veteran leadership and mental health matters.
It's free and open to the public, but seating is limited.
Register now at welcomehomeforum.org.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers. Sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
President Trump's address last night set a record. It ran almost 2 hours. The president covered a broad range of topics, from the economy to the border to his administration's crackdown on crime. And there was something that Democrats in the audience would not stand for.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
As far as we can tell, most, if not all, of the Democrats remained in their seats, prompting a presidential rebuke.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens.
Lawmakers in the House have rejected a bill would have required aircraft locator systems to prevent mid-air collisions like last year's crash near Washington, D.C.
The National Transportation Safety Board has been recommending the aircraft locator system since 2008, and experts believe it would have prevented last year's mid-air collision over the Potomac River that killed 67 people. The bill passed the Senate and had the backing of the victims' families and key unions, but it fell short of the necessary votes in the House. Speaker Mike Johnson said he's committed to getting the aviation safety bill done. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Just as the region gets back on its feet from the blizzard, the Northeast could be in for another shot of winter weather. Forecasters warn another storm is right around the corner. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures are up 158 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 113. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey there, it's Chris, and as you know, Israel is a hot discussion point right now. I just talked about it on a panel at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention. There's so many opinions and emotions surrounding the subject, and the Bible tells us, of course, I will bless those who bless you. That's not just a comforting promise. It's a clear calling from God. And today, with anti-Semitism rising around the world, the calling is more urgent than ever. At a time when Jewish communities are experiencing more hostility, more threats, more violence than ever, Christians have a real opportunity, a powerful opportunity, to respond with God's love, to say, you're not alone. When Christians choose to bless Israel, you're not entering into a political issue. You're honoring the roots of our faith and standing against hatred. Supporting Israel is more than just a belief. It's a biblical mandate. Partnering with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, you can push back against darkness and be a light to God's people. Go to ifcj.org to learn more. That's ifcj.org. Live the word, answer the call.
Hungary's recent opposition to EU efforts to back Ukraine against Russia comes amid the backdrop of national elections in April.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We'll be tracking highs towards lower 50s this afternoon, then late overnight into Thursday morning. Could see a few isolated chances of some showers. Will clear throughout the day, a high of 53 Thursday. Friday and Saturday going to be the days to be out and about. A lot more sunshine, highs close to 70 degrees Friday into Saturday, 64 degrees as a cold front pushes through. Then some chances of some rain snow mixtures as we head off Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday into next week. Keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, debuting this Sunday night at 7 on News Talk STL. Hear all the behind-the-scenes stories about what the State Freedom Caucus is doing across the country, directly from the legislators and the people that are doing it. Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, this Sunday night at 7 with very special guest Mark Meadows, hosted by Tim Jones. Freedom Caucus Unfiltered, now Sunday nights at 7 on News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson.
What is that private pile? Sir, jelly donut, sir. A jelly donut?
Susie Moore.
Mama don't like tattletales.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice. drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, our neighbors in southwest Missouri are still reeling from the news that 2 law enforcement officers are dead.
Yeah.
Now we're getting more information about the man who killed them and also shot 2 other deputies. This is a story that's getting some national attention, but, basically when something like this happens, is it in another part of the state from where we are? Yes, but in times like this, they're our neighbors.
Yeah.
They're Missourians as well. We're now joined by Elijah Haar, former Missouri Speaker of the House, who now does the Elijah Haar Show on KWTO. And if you're in the Springfield area, if you're in Southwest Missouri, that's who you want to check out there. If you love News Talk STL, you're going to like KWTO. Elijah, thanks for being on the program, man. You're covering this obviously very, very closely. Let me start with how the community is reacting and handling. I mean, there's the tragic stories that you see somewhere else, and then you have this level of tragedy. 2 officers shot, wounded. 2 officers are dead. The man who caused all the mayhem, he's dead in a shootout as well. That's easier to sometimes comprehend when it happens to somebody else, but now it is in small town Missouri, right in your front yard.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tragedy. Both officers' patrol cars have been parked on the square in Ozark here, and people are bringing different items to leave at them. It's almost like a shrine to the 2 officers. I will say yesterday on the show, we had Susan Harrelson, the president of the Christian County 100 Club. If you're not familiar with 100 clubs, they exist in several of the counties around the state. And what they do is if a law enforcement personnel, a firefighter, an EMT loses their life in the line of duty, the 100 Club shows up. They give a $25,000 check to the family and basically just say, listen, you've got to deal with a lot of stuff. Don't worry about rent. Don't worry about groceries. Don't worry about funeral expenses. This will cover you for a while you work through this process. And so, the community's responded in a big way. And as you mentioned, it's one of those things you never expect to have happen. I think the Christian County 100 Clubs existed for 7 years. This is the first time they've been called upon. And so it is. The community's reeling, but they're also responding.
Good morning, Elijah. This is Susie Moore. What do we know at this point regarding the shooter, the suspect? I know he's obviously was killed in this as well, but what do we know about his background?
As you mentioned earlier, he's got quite a lengthy background of criminal activity. My understanding is that he had been released from jail that morning. He was on a $50,000 bond. That he had, I believe it was a charge of receiving stolen property, and then he was booked, he was booked on a charge of burglary, and then there was an outstanding warrant for him, which is why he was stopped. Now, there has been some consternation because it does appear that back in 2014, when he lived in Kansas City, he had shot at a sheriff's deputy in Kansas. He'd taken multiple shots from a rifle and had just not hit the sheriff. He pleaded guilty to reduced charges, and he served, I think, 7 years in jail for that. And there is some consternation of, hey, why was he allowed out of jail if he had such an extensive history? There's some debate over this, but I know back in 2019, in the aftermath of Ferguson, the Supreme Court of Missouri had basically pushed to lower most cash bonds in cases. I was watching some social media chatter about this, and they said $50,000 is actually one of the higher bond amounts they'd seen locally. Usually they're doing $5,000 to $10,000. But there are some people that are asking, hey, if this guy had a history of violence towards law enforcement, a history of repeated criminal activity, why was he let out of jail?
We're visiting with Elijah Haar from KWTO in Southwest Missouri. Also, you may recognize the name, former Missouri Speaker of the House as well. He was Richard Byrd was the murderer who killed Deputy Ramirez and at the traffic stop, and he was convicted in Johnson County, Kansas, which, like Elijah said, that's a suburb of Kansas City. Right. 8-year sentence, served looks like 7 years of it. I think you're absolutely right about that. But that sentence had been completed, and then he's on these 2 theft and stolen property charges, and he bailed himself out, like you said, that day. And so that's that I think I fairly has people having asking those questions, but the bottom line is that there wasn't really anything unusual about it because he did bail himself out, and he just simply chose to commit murder when he was pulled over.
Yeah, and listen. Hindsight is always easier than foresight. I think a lot of the conversation about why he was released is coming from people that just, these things, these sorts of tragedies, when they happen, somebody always needs to find somebody to blame. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's part of the reason this conversation is taking place is there's a lot of hurt people in the area because of what happened.
Elijah, give folks an idea in terms of, this is a community that has been rocked by this because you're talking about, 2 deputies that were killed, 2 others that were wounded, and give folks an idea of the size of the police force down there. I mean, this is not, anytime something like this happens, it's tragic and it's horrific, but this really is going to hit home in that community. These are officers who were known to their neighbors.
Absolutely. In fact, they're known to people like me. One of my daughters plays volleyball with the guy that trained one of these deputies. It is. Christian County is not a large community. I think the population of the county is somewhere around 100,000. My recollection is they have a patrol division in the sheriff's office of approximately 40 uniformed detectives or deputies. And then, so it is not a huge group of people that live there, or a huge group of people that are involved in law enforcement. And frankly, unlike a lot of the larger metropolitan areas, Christian County is one of those places that has escaped some of the rampant criminal behavior that has been in Missouri and across the nation the last few years. There's some drug issues and things like that, but we don't have an issue of heavy violent crime. And so when a situation like this occurs, it's a reminder. Now, Christian County has grown pretty dramatically the past 25 years. It's become a hot place for people to move, but it's still perceived as a small town with small town values and frankly, not much large city crime.
Other than we know that the injuries to the other deputies are non-life threatening, what do we know about their condition, if anything, right now, Elijah?
My understanding is one of them was shot in the hip. It shattered his hip, and he's had surgery on that. Both are expected to make full recoveries.
Oh, that's good to know.
That is good to know.
That's good to know. All right, Elijah, so what's next? I mean, obviously, and I've lived in small communities, and I've lived in big metro areas, and small communities tend to really come together in a way that's different than big communities do. I'm not saying the big communities don't do it, but it's a very, very different way of doing it. So what's next? Not even just in Christian County, because my guess is that you're going to see communities from that entire part of the Southwest Missouri region come together. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they've already parked Deputy Ramirez and Deputy Hislett's cars on the Ozark Square, and people are coming. I assume they're in the process of planning the funerals, and not only will you see just an avalanche of people from the local community, I think you'll see people from the larger Springfield area and around the state go. If you saw yesterday, I think almost every single statewide public official had statements out there. I know multiple members of Christian County, Sheriff Brad Cole said he heard from the governor or both U.S. senators, like they are on top of this. And so we're going to see the community kind of wrap its arms around these families, around the Christian County Sheriff's Department. And I think we'll have a period of grieving that'll go on over the next week or two. But it's also one of those healthy, cathartic experiences that I think you're going to see the neighbors really stand up for each other.
Elijah, you mentioned this earlier, hindsight is 20/20, but not so much about assigning blame or recriminations. Are there lessons that can be learned from what happened here that going forward, law enforcement could maybe take from this and try and better protect their officers when these situations arise?
I think the two things they're going to look at, obviously they're going to look at whether or not it was his release from jail, if there'd been something that could have changed. But also, after the initial traffic stop, he fled down to the middle of the woods. They used heat-seeking radar to basically pinpoint his location. And once they had him pinned down, There eventually was a 30-minute firefight that resulted in 3 more deputies being shot. So I assume there's going to be some conversation about, hey, how could we, if you've got somebody in a situation like that, how do we make sure that we enter in a safer, more protected manner? But, those are conversations for another day.
Yeah, and the bottom line is that, a murderous madman put everybody in that situation, and they may have done everything right, as well. And you were just dealing with an absolute monster. All right, Elijah Haar, KWTO, thank you so much for the update on this, because, like I said, it's one thing to see it on TV and go, how sad for them. But then there's the other thing that says this happened to us, and that's what your part of the state's dealing with right now.
Thanks for having me on, Mike.
You got it.
Thanks, Elijah. Local media is trying really hard to make an illegal alien who's being deported into the hero of the story. What do you think? We're going to give you the details at 7:20.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more. And all the ones depart, no destination. You're making cold my heart to fight your war.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Everybody wants me to dance. Could you imagine FDR dancing?
On News Talk STL.
Before you blow us all away.
Colombo and Company.
On Wednesday, we'll recap Trump's State of the Union and all the fallout and reaction to the speech, plus Missouri political insider Rodney Boyd, Danny Define, and Closest Cabinet.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here for Newstedter's Fine Jewelry right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend. WowDiamonds.com. It's Wow Diamonds for a reason. These are beautiful lab-grown diamonds. They are gorgeous. They will blind you when you walk in and see them, but that's a good thing. Great engagement sets, wedding sets, all these beautiful God-created gems, sapphires, rubies, you name it, garnets, and also all the gold you need, and the famous bull of a watch, WowDiamonds.com.
Hi, this is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the region's largest RE/MAX real estate brokerage. It is cold outside, but the real estate market is hot. This is a great time to buy or sell a home. Interest rates are also declining, which gives you more buying power. Someday is not a day on the calendar, but today is. Call me at 314-852-8933 for a free custom home buying plan. 314-852-8933.
Honey, he says we're in legal trouble and we're going to lose our retirement. We have to get to a crypto ATM now.
This can't be right.
It's not right. I'm Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. We've received reports of devastating new scams involving crypto ATMs.
Let's report this.
We're here to help. Report suspected fraud at 800-392-8222 or visit ago.mo.gov.
Sponsored by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
News, analysis,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL.
Good morning, Missouri. It's your boy, Joe Pags. I'll talk to you tonight at 10. But right now, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
First on Fox, the Baldwin family is prepared to be ripped apart in the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. A deportation order could come as soon as tomorrow for a husband and father of 2 young girls.
Ripped apart. Ripped apart.
That's framing.
Ripped apart. That's how Fox 2 started their newscast last night. Family ripped apart. Husband, daughters. Yeah. Okay. Local media, in this case Fox 2, really trying to drum up sympathy for an illegal alien. And here's the thing, is I think it's an interesting human story that I think encapsulates a lot of the debate on there. So if you're going to journalisming with it, then do journalisming. Okay? That wasn't journalisming.
No, that was storytelling.
Yeah, that was framing. And the thing is that overall, I think Fox 2 actually does a pretty good job. Overall, I really do. I think them and I think Channel 4 do a pretty good job. I think Channel 5 sucks, but I think Channel 2 generally. But that was, and when you look at the rest of this, it's like a 4-minute sob story.
Yeah. Do we learn in that story? I haven't had a chance to look through it. Do we learn what his circumstances are, how it is that he came to be living here and building a life here, but not being here legally?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, let's pick up just a few seconds later in the story when it's pitched to the field reporter on this. Again, this is Fox 2.
Fox 2's Andy Banker is here now with our exclusive report. And Andy, this one tugs at the heartstrings.
Yeah, his wife says he won't even be able to hug her or their 2 young daughters before he's sent to Mexico. Alejandro Perez has pleaded guilty to illegally entering the United States in 2012. He has since become a beloved husband, father, and member of his church.
I was emotional when I was packing his bag. How is this real? Is he seriously not going to come back to his house here? I still think this country wants Alejandro. They should want him.
Janie Perez has 1 bag packed for her husband with more to come. 33-year-old Alejandro Perez has pleaded guilty to 1 count of illegal entry into the United States in 2012. In exchange, prosecutors will seek a prison sentence of 3 months. He has already served 4. The plea agreement also points to immigration consequences, including deportation.
Yeah, so here's the thing is he came into the country. They called it self-deporting, and then he admits to coming back in illegally, and then we'll get to it's also later in the story. Basically, he's one of those who was given some of that blanket, even though you're illegal, we're going to cover you by the Biden administration years later.
Parole status, basically.
Yes, sort of. Here's the another part of it, because this whole thing's like 4 minutes long. I'm not gonna play.
Yeah.
You can see it at Channel 2, but here's a little more of the Fox 2 story. And the theme that you saw through the whole thing was basically there was absolutely no questioning of whether or not it's appropriate for those who are in the country illegally, especially those who have admitted to it, to be deported. That was never the whole thing was how could this poor family be ripped apart by Orange Man, by bad Orange Man.
Tug at the heartstrings. Like
Right, exactly. Well,
said.
And Shirley actually said that.
That's what I'm saying. She framed it like that's what it's designed to do.
Yeah, she literally said, and this one pulls at the heartstrings.
Yeah.
Does it? Okay, so here's another part of the story, not the full story, but the whole other part.
She says he self-deported in 2012 to take his injured cousin back to Mexico. He illegally returned to the U.S. that same year. They met in 2019, got married in 2020, and hired multiple attorneys to work toward his citizenship.
He has a social security number. He has a work permit, driver's license. Another lawyer said that we would get a green card, and so we were like, okay, we're doing everything that we think we should with what we have right now.
He's a beloved member of Covenant Presbyterian Church and was to cook dinner for a men's group here.
And Alejandro, who loves to cook and is a good cook, was going to make tacos for us.
Okay, they're doing everything they can except him going through the process the legal way, the right way.
Yeah, no, okay. So I'm going to say this. It sounds like they did make some efforts to address that situation. So I have to cut a little bit of slack there because when she said this country wants Alejandro, I was like, well, if Alejandro wants this country, Alejandro needs to jump through some hoops. Yes. You don't just get to go to some other country and take up residence there without jumping through the hoops.
Especially when you pled guilty to the criminal offense of entering the country illegally.
Right. I don't disagree with that. I would like to know more about why, if they were taking these steps to remedy the situation and fix his status so that he is here legally, where that got hung up, because that may point to another issue that needs to be addressed, and that is there should be a not crazily complex process to jump through the hoops and become a legal resident.
Totally agree with that.
And particularly someone who, it sounds like this gentleman, aside from the initial issue with coming through illegally, it sounds like overall has been a decent member of the community. It's contributed to communities building a life here. So this is the kind of person you would maybe want to be able to find a way to do that properly, but you can't start off by breaking the rules and expect that there aren't going to be consequences for that.
Yeah, and then saying, well, you've got to adapt to me because I'm here already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
It's not adverse possession.
No.
Sorry, lawyer had it. But.
Right. Yeah, you don't get to squat in the country. And then also I think we should look at, wait a minute, let's assume for the sake of argument that his wife is telling the truth. Let's do that. How does somebody who's in the country illegally get a Social Security number? How do they get a driver's license?
That's what I'm a little unclear about. I
Right.
would like to know more about that from it. And I don't do, I didn't practice immigration law, but I would love to have, if there's anybody out there who's an immigration lawyer who has insight on this, how does that work?
Because that shouldn't be allowed.
Well, unless there could be two tracks of things going on here. A, he broke the law, he pleaded guilty to that, and one of the consequences of that is being removed from the country, independent of him having jumped through the hoops and gotten to a certain level of legal status, which would entitle him to those documentation. That could both be true.
Yeah, and the story didn't make that part clear because then what they focused on is how sad it is the family is going to move to Mexico so that they can be together as a family. And
those are choices you make as a family when you have. I mean, I am empathetic to this. I understand this. I am empathetic to the church not having Alejandro make its tacos, which kind of is a weird way of putting a spin on that. I mean, I think that I don't know. There was sort of a microaggression there. It seemed like, but even so, I am very empathetic to that. I'm sympathetic to that. But that there are legal consequences to what this man did, and there are family repercussions when you've got members from different countries having to negotiate how you make that work.
Right.
She's going to have to jump through hoops to make sure she can live in Mexico properly, right?
Yes. And that's
she can't just go waltzing in and expect it's just going to be hunky-dory.
Whether you knew he was illegal or not, and I'm going to assume because they met in 2019 that she was aware that he had been convicted and pled guilty to being in the country illegally, this is just the consequence of your action. But the whole framing of the story was look at this casualty of this immigration crackdown from the administration.
Right. And then the implication that is the vast majority of people who are being removed from the country when that is not the case.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, there are lots of hoops you could do that. Now, listen, I was married once before, and she was a legal immigrant into the U.S. And believe me, there were times I really wish they would have deported her for any reason possible.
That's a separate issue,
But
Mike.
that's a separate issue. But she did play by the rules, and she got a permanent residency. It can be done. It is done all the time. And even last night at the State of Union address, the president actually said, we welcome legal immigrants who will embrace the country. And he actually did say that. He did draw a distinction between those coming to the country legally versus those breaking into the country illegally. And then what's happening here is they're trying to say, oh, but he was trying to use the whole process. Well, no, after you get you sneak in the door. I mean, that's like saying somebody's going to break into your house, steal your stuff, and say, okay, wait a minute. Well, I'm here. Let's just negotiate a price. You know, let me buy it from you after I stole it, or let me work out a deal with you. No, you broke in and stole something. Therefore, you're a thief. You're a burglar. In this case, you came into the country illegally. There are consequences. Why am I supposed to feel sorry for you to do that? And if anything, we're going to feel sorry for his kids who are caught in the middle of your choices and your wife's choices.
I always come back to this. If anybody who's listening to this is contemplating going to another country and spending time there, taking up residence there, I guarantee you are going to make sure that you know what the rules are.
Right.
You're not just going to try and sneak in and hope no one notices you hanging out in New Zealand or Australia or Mexico. So I don't know why the U.S. then is supposed to be the exception to that.
Right.
I don't understand.
No, exactly. Got some thoughts on that? We're getting a lot of comments on this on some social media. Keep those coming here. That's one of those things where it's not even so much about the story. They could have done this story in a very objective, straightforward way and pointed out the emotional aspects of it. But they clearly took sides. That's what, from a media perspective, that's what I have an issue with.
Now, some people call it book banning. Some people may refer to it as book deporting. But either way, is banning porn from kids something that should be controversial? We've got the update for you at 7:35.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
He picked the wrong schoolyard to come into, I have to tell you this.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We'll be tracking highs towards lower 50s this afternoon, then late overnight into Thursday morning. Could see a few isolated chances of some showers. Will clear throughout the day, a high of 53 Thursday. Friday and Saturday going to be the days to be out and about. A lot more sunshine, highs close to 70 degrees Friday into Saturday, 64 degrees as a cold front pushes through. Then some chances of some rain snow mixtures as we head off Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday into next week. Keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
PRI Global now has Prismatic, an AI-driven platform that can help you and your business, especially in construction. Simplify your operations, secure data, modernize your business from the cloud up. Visit PRIGlobal.com. Innovation with talent and technology. People, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. Check them out. PRIGlobal.com. PRIGlobal.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit Vincent'sJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
What is it going to take for Americans to wake up and stop demonizing our nation? Listen, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but even many Democrats are realizing we're spinning out of control. Of course, those Democrats are not the far-left loonies. They are Americans who truly want the best for their families and our nation, just like you, just different politics. The loonies are acting as if they have the high moral ground. Actor Robert De Niro saying, "I want America back." I would second that, but at the same time, he complains about all those U.S. flags flying along with MAGA flags. He's caught in the twilight zone, along with Obama, Clinton, even Schumer, who in years not too far past spoke defiantly against letting illegals invade our nation. Then you have the leftist loon, Gavin Newsom, trying to make himself look equal in the eyes of a black audience, but basically mocked them. He said, "I'm just like you. I can't read." Even black radio host Charlemagne the God chastised Newsom, and I quote, with the necessary edit, "Newsom doesn't stand a frickin' chance of being president."
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Tony Colombo here, inviting you out for a great night of fun and rock and roll with the Queen Tribute Somebody to Love, Friday, March 20th at the Mill in Granite City. My band, Tony Colombo and the North County Sound Machine, featuring Katie Fitzpatrick, opens the show, followed by the ultimate Queen experience from Somebody to Love. That's Friday, March 20th at the Mill, Granite City's premier concert and event venue, brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Support local music and join us for a great party. Tickets and info now at themill.events.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Patrick Toohey, he is senior fellow with the Show Me Institute.
You can say it's schools, you can say it's crime or the perception of crime. Those are legit, but, St. Louis needs fewer reasons for people to leave, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
And even if the 1% tax isn't the top reason they leave, it's not keeping people in. And St. Louis needs to be competitive with the municipalities around them.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
The Laborers International Union of North America, Local 110, was formed in 1933 and from the beginning has strived for progress and the well-being of others. The laborers of Local 110 are hardworking men and women who take pride in their great work. They are the fastest-growing union of construction workers and one of the most effective unions representing plants and quarries. Laborers Local 110 has the best medical benefits, pension, education, and heavy construction training in the market. Visit lu110.com and start your future today.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
"Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL."
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
The Mike Ferguson Show is one of my favorite programs. In addition to Larry Connor's USA, catch my program at 6. Now, back to Mike.
All right, almost 2/3 of the books being challenged in the Francis Howell School District Library, so far at least, are found to be, let's just call it something the public schools should not be providing your kids. Yeah, because we've followed this story. We're now joined by Jane Puszkar from the Francis Howell School District Board. And Jane, I saw this on the Francis Howell Families website. They say 64% of the books that are being challenged are being either removed, and that's the vast majority of them, and some of the others are being restricted. Now, how far are we in the process of getting all of the challenged books reviewed at this point? Because as I recall last time you were on the show, there were quite a few that some people had a problem with.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Susie. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And in response to what you said earlier, I would like to call this deporting pornography from our schools. So there's that. I just wanted to say that, yes, we have had this this win with getting some of these books out of the libraries. 22 books were removed, and some were rated only for adults. Books such as Tricks by Ellen Hopkins, Damsel, and Bronxwood. They were removed for various reasons, but one of the big ones was does not meet collection development requirements in Policy 6310, which admits that these books are not age appropriate for these kids. They did restrict 3 more to the high school level only, which is a win. And even though I don't agree with some of these books, that I still will thank the school district for doing that. But the fight's not over. It's just not over. What they did was they kept another 25, or no, I'm sorry, they kept another 17 books. And one of the books that they kept is titled Queer, the Ultimate LGBTQ Guide for Teens. That tells you exactly what the topic is. The Bluest Eye, a well-known and disgusting book, and Sold, which I read from in the boardroom, which everybody did not like because it's pornographic. You still cannot read excerpts from these books on the radio. And I would like to remind your listeners that these books that are on this list that they kept fulfill the definition of pornography by the Missouri Revised Statute of 573.010.
Jane, we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to kind of take a step back. How do we get here to begin with? In other words, before we get to the point of saying, wait a second, this book shouldn't be there, we want to get it removed, how do we end up with these types of books so prevalent in the system to begin with?
Well, the decision to put a book in the library rested solely in the hands of a library media specialist. And there was, I'm sure internally they had some sort of oversight, but they're going by reviews reviews that are put on the internet that are definitely so liberal that they found nothing wrong with these books. They claimed that they had educational suitability. Well, maybe parts of these books do, but the parts that don't are what we're really rebelling against.
Yeah, and
so that's basically as a library media specialist.
Yeah, because we're talking about novels, because the Francis Howell Families website provides links to basically excerpts and reviews of the books because they didn't even want to put them in their blog. And then once I read the excerpts, I completely understand why, because some of these we're talking about novels that are, I mean, there's no other purpose for what was written other than sexual titillation. I mean, that's all there is. That's all there is to it. And so I want to clarify also, we're not talking about any lawsuits to ban anybody from buying these on their own or finding them somewhere else or publishing them or writing them or reading them to your kids in your own home if you want. We're just talking about the public school library system. So talk to the people for a second, Jane, who are saying, there you go, you bunch of conservative Christian book banners. Look at that. How does history treat those who burn the books? That's not what's happening right now.
We're not banning books. We're taking pornography out of our schools, and it's been defined, as I said, 573.010. The other problem is that why are these books in there in the first place? I don't understand why they feel that they have to be made available to everyone when if that's what they want to read, go for it. Like you said, it's on Amazon. It's in the public library. But in the public school library, you have a captive audience. You don't have parents there that can guide their children into what to read and what not to read. And some of these books, Mike, I might have to tell you that they were weeded out because they were so worn. What does that tell you?
Yeah, it means teenagers like to find naughty stuff.
Right. You know, and I was told one time, and this makes sense, you know, these books, maybe a part of the book has educational suitability. It's questionable. Maybe it doesn't. But the problem is that, you know, they like I said, they still want them to have these books available. I don't understand.
Jane, obviously, like you said, that the fight isn't over. There's still an ongoing. There's back and forth over what is there, what shouldn't be there. What are the next steps to continue to address this and make sure that we're doing everything we can to prevent exposure to inappropriate material for school age kids?
Well, they made the next steps harder, Susie, and they did that by changing parts of policy 6310, which, you know, is the policy we were doing to take the books out in the first place. What they did was they increased the length of time, meaning that from the time the first challenge is made to the conclusion of the challenge, they increased that time from 11 to 21 weeks. They had a proposal for 9 members. They took it down to 7 members, but they also put a librarian back on the committee. Now, the librarians are the ones responsible for putting the book in the first place, and I can tell you that no librarian has willingly taken a book out of the Francis Howell Library. The other thing they did was they demanded that the person challenging the book come before the committee and explain why you don't like the book. That's intimidation. And then the other thing they did was you used to be able to challenge a book every 2 years. Now it's every 3 years. And that was voted on at the last board meeting. So the next steps are they've made it harder. But here's the part where things might look a little bit better for us. Because this year, if you vote for Puszkar, Greenwood, and Jaworski, we will get 3 true conservatives on this board. And then next year, we only need 2 more seats. And when we get those 2 more seats next year, then necessary changes to get these books out of the library will be done.
Jane, was sexual content the only reason for the challenges, or were there other reasons some of these books were challenged? I know the majority of them were the sexual content, but were there other factors involved in any of these books?
Well, there was the one book that I read from the dais that has the N-word in it. Racist. I mean, totally racist. It had that in the book like 33 times or something like that. There's no need for that. I was told at one point that these authors put stuff like this in the book because it'll sell more books.
Yeah, let me follow up. Let me jump in and follow up on that. Like, how could that possibly, you look at the examples of something like To Kill a Mockingbird, or you look at like Huckleberry Finn, or you look at some of those books. Could legitimate literature be caught up in the zealous effort to protect kids from, I guess, the exploitive aspect of that? I mean, is it possible that books about the civil rights movement or anything like that could inadvertently be caught up as an unintended consequence?
In my estimation, no, that's not our purpose, and that's not what we're after. This is not book banning, which if you take the classics out, that, in my estimation, is book banning. However, that's not what we're after. We're after sexual and age-inappropriate content. There's no reason why an 11-year-old needs a guide for LGBTQ, in my estimation.
Right. Jane, are you hearing from either board members or parents or concerned citizens in other school districts that are facing similar challenges?
I have friends in other school districts in the area, in St. Charles County, and yes, they have the same issues. The issue with other board members, though, they're fighting different fights. So, I mean, we all have our things that, we're trying to get changed within the school district. So they admit, and they said that they have found these books in their library. So if we get those out, there is a possibility that other boards and school districts will follow our lead.
Yeah, and I think pretty much all the districts have this. I mean, I was shown some examples of what was in the Rockwood school district, even in the middle school and the grade school libraries, and it was abhorrent. So my guess is this is happening in every single public school district, probably without exception, but you all are putting the spotlight on. There is something you can do about it. And this, just a last minute or so we're visiting with Jane Puszkar from the Francis Howell School Board. And this shows how crucial these April elections are. And I don't mean to segue into an election topic, but that's what we harp on every year. Everybody gets worked up over the presidential and the U.S. Senate and the congressional races, and we should, but so few people pay attention and don't show up in April, and this is literally what's at stake for our families.
Last year on the Election Authority website, 13% of the qualified voters showed up to vote. 13%. I won by like 1,700 votes. Yeah. That's not a lot in a town of 89,500 registered voters.
Yeah. I mean, bottom line is in these April elections, if conservatives show up, conservatives win.
Well, we're hoping that Prop RT will bring them out. That's the freezing property taxes.
Prop RT.
So we're hoping. Prop RT, yes. Used to be SB3.
Clever.
Yeah.
There it is. All right, Jane, let's go ahead and website campaigns, because we've had all three of the candidates that you've mentioned. We've had all of them on the program here, but people want to learn more about them. What's the best way to find them?
Well, you can go to jane4fhsd.org. That will take you to the Francis Howell Family's webpage, and all three of our bios and what we stand for are on those pages. But I can tell you, we pretty much, three of us all stand for the same thing: fiscal responsibility, parental rights, and also the third one, which is taking these books out of schools.
Got it. Jane, thanks so much for the update. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike, for having me, and thank you, Susie. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jane. You too. It is a great day because it's bump day.
Bump day.
And that's your reminder. That's your weekly reminder to get your requests for Flashback Friday bump music into Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Ferguson in the morning.
My opinion is it's weird.
On NewsTalk-STL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. As we follow the important issues facing Jefferson County, if you want to stay informed on Jeffco politics, especially in this all-important midterm election year, make sure to tune in this and every Sunday at high noon here on Newstalk STL.
Jeffco Patriot Radio. If it's a big story in Jefferson County, you'll hear about it on Jeffco Patriot Radio. Sundays at noon on Newstalk STL.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Okay, I'm going to put out the call again because we're getting a lot of people saying what their favorite parts of the State of the Union address and related festivities were. Also, what didn't you like? Because we've got a few folks, several folks on the left that have a different opinion on that. Keep sending those in, but you got to admit the U.S. hockey team, the men's team, sure is having a lot of fun right now. They are partying it up. They went to like some bar or nightclub in Miami or something like that when they flew in. They walked in, everybody's cheering, and then everybody starts singing the national anthem.
Wow.
In the bar.
That's pretty cool.
Which, was kind of fun. And predictably now, because then they went and met with the president at his invitation. They got to see him in the White House, and they got a tour and this. And predictably, you've got these leftist trolls who are really angry and going on social media talking about how disappointed they are in that group of guys.
Miserable people.
Miserable people. Right, exactly. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. But the reaction to the President's State of the Union, not the only big news today. We're actually going to talk to Tony Kinnett about that here in just a few minutes. But Susie, what are some good Red State articles to start our day with today?
This is the Red State Rundown.
Well, of course, a lot of our coverage right now is focused on the State of the Union address. There's still a lot of, looking back, reflecting on it to be done. And one of those articles is from Rusty Weiss. It's titled, Trump Goes Off Script to Slap Stock Queen Nancy Pelosi with Insider Trading Jab. Now, you may remember when he started talking up, not because of his jab on Nancy Pelosi, but that was well-deserved. But when he did talk about insider trading, even the Democrats did stand up and applaud. Elizabeth Warren was like right there front and center on that. So that might be a bipartisan issue we could see some movement on, but definitely you want to check that article out from Rusty. Also, we've got from Becky Noble, our own Becky Noble here from St. Louis. Americans appear to be doing jobs we were told they wouldn't do. Reliance on foreign labor is down in Texas. Imagine that. I mean, the headline kind of gives you an idea of what that article is about. But yeah, funny how that works. Also from our columnist, Eric Dernika, this one's titled, Rooting Out Foreign Malign Influence Requires Aggressive Measures. And this is looking into the influence of people like Neville Singman, people that are funding these sort of far left groups, activist groups, and how much of foreign influence is involved there and why that needs to be looked at aggressively. It's a great read. Go check that one out.
All right, redstate.com. Get caught up on things. Obviously, there's going to be a massive amount of reaction to the State of the Union address and also to the Democrats' antics.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I was seeing on my Facebook reels, and I don't get on Facebook as much as I probably other people my age do, but I do doom scroll on the reels, and I started to see a pattern yesterday. Generally old white people making their statement on how disappointed and embarrassed they are by the men's hockey team. And it was all about, you went and met with that man. So they accepted the invitation of the President of the United States to go to the White House. And boy, what an entrance they made at the State of the Union last night. I got to tell you, that was very, that was a lot of fun. The president, he was their hype man for a minute. And then they start coming down the two steps, from the doors, and they've got their gold medals and they've got their USA shirts on and all that sort of thing. And the place just lost their mind, which they should have. I would have.
Rightly.
Yeah, I would have done that. But then you're seeing all these reels, and it's funny because they look exactly like you would think that they would look. These these are the people who they would like to retire, but they still have to teach at the college. They still have to teach, humanities at the college in order to get by. And they look like that, at least the ones that I saw. And then I saw a couple of those, just younger leftists, but they're angry for the simple reason is that they went to the White House and accepted the invitation.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that now for years. You're either with us 100% or you're the enemy.
Right.
And there's no room for disagreement. There's no room for giving any quarter to anyone who might in any way support President Trump. And I just want to say this to anyone who's listening or who happens to listen later on. If I get an invitation to the White House to go meet with President Trump, you know what? I'm going to take it. I also would have accepted one from Joe Biden, Barack Obama, or whoever. So if that really undoes you, then I'm sorry.
Right.
I don't know what else to tell you.
I remember being stunned. My grandfather, who was a World War II combat veteran, he received an invitation to go be honored with his entire battalion was being honored because his battalion that turns out did some big stuff. We found out, later on in history. But his health was so bad that he couldn't make the trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had to decline the invitation to the White House because he physically couldn't make it. But then they sent him this very nice, like, we're going to send you the invitation anyway. You can frame it. You can, which, it was very, there are ways to say, like, for instance, the women's team.
Mm-hmm.
They declined it, but they did it in a classy way. They gave good reasons. I mean, were they mad because he kind of mocked them in the phone call? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
But they didn't embarrass anybody.
He also said last night that they are going to be coming.
Yeah. I'm sure most of the Olympians, if not all of them, are at some point. So, they didn't embarrass anybody. They still won the gold medal. Everybody still go USA team on that. But the idea that how dare you even go and be honored, not to go honor the president, but to be honored by the president and Congress, that makes people lose their minds as well. And some of the hockey players, they were all saying kind of the same thing. They're like, we're a hockey team. This isn't politics. Can you just not throw us into your politics?
No.
Right? I think the answer on the left is no. Yeah.
Well, and the interesting thing, too, is that I did not see this level of backlash and outrage from the left when Mamdani went to go visit President Trump, and that's supposed to be a politician that was all anti-Trump about everything.
There was some,
There
actually.
was some, but not to the same level of, even people that I know personally, I'm seeing posts about them feeling disrespected or it's shameful for the team.
Shut up.
Yeah, these are athletes.
That's what I have to say about that.
They're representing our country. So.
And not that Mamdani's not an athlete. I mean, he almost bench pressed 135 pounds with help from another guy.
And he's really good at mental gymnastics. So.
The mental gymnastics, precisely.
There's that. Hey, our own Senator Eric Schmidt was able to put aside some grievous differences to honor the hockey team. As he pointed out on the video that he shared last night when he was talking to the Kachuk brothers, even this DeSmet boy is proud of the Chaminade boys. So that should tell you something right there. If he can do that, we can all put that aside for the good of the country.
That video was really funny there. That was pretty golden, actually. Yeah. It's kind of funny. You notice he's like, who is it? The other big it was Gene Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
He actually managed to get a video with Gene Simmons a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember why Gene Simmons was in Washington.
Oh, there was something that was going on at the White House. There was something that was being honored.
Maybe it was the Kennedy honors.
Kennedy
Center honors or something like that. So, but Eric's actually really good about making some really entertaining, don't take yourself too seriously, but still at the level of a dignity. I saw that one. I'm like, that was really good. That was funny.
Springtime in St. Louis, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
NewsTalkSTL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on NewsTalkSTL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Hey, Jamie Allman here. When your car needs attention, trust who I trust. Benchmark Complete Auto in Valley Park. 25 years as a family-owned and operated company, Benchmark is your Napa Auto Care Center for nearly every maintenance and repair, using the latest technology and top-quality parts. Need help with the bill? Well, ask about Napa's Easy Pay financing. Mention Jamie Allman and News Talk STL and get 10% off. BenchmarkAutoRepair.com. BenchmarkAutoRepair.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. The State of the Union is, in a word, strong. President Trump's assessment delivered in a marathon address last night to a joint session of Congress.
Tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages.
A turnaround for the economy, according to the president, and for the border, for international diplomacy, and for the war on crime here at home. Mr. Trump says he would prefer a diplomatic solution to the nuclear standoff with Iran, but he's not taking a military option off the table. In a feel-good moment, the president lauded America's newest Olympic heroes.
The gold medal-winning U.S. men's Olympic hockey team has visited President Donald Trump at the White House and later received about a 2-minute bipartisan standing ovation during his State of the Union address. Trump also announced that the women's hockey team, which also defeated Canada to win gold, will visit the White House. The women's team had declined an invitation to attend the State of the Union due to the timing of the address. Trump also said goalie Connor Hellebuck will receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger delivered the Democrat response to the president's speech. She accuses Mr. Trump of lying and claims that Trump economic policies are harming Americans. More than 3 weeks after Nancy Guthrie vanished from her home in Arizona, her children say they're holding out hope for a miracle that will bring their mother back home. They're also offering a $1 million reward for the 84-year-old woman's return. Wall Street ahead of this morning's opening bell. Dow futures up 140 points. NASDAQ futures ahead 114. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The U.S. dollar is under pressure, and some analysts are openly warning about the long-term stability of U.S. currency dominance. Whether you call it currency debasement or the collapse of the dollar, the risk is real. And when confidence in the U.S. dollar shifts, gold and silver historically respond. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit. You'll also receive a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000.
As America's #1 motorcycle insurer, Progressive has your back.
Oh, like if I need a replacement part?
Sure, we can help with that.
Ah, nice. Hey, I just entered this online contest for coolest bike in the world. You think maybe you can vote for me?
Actually, we just do insurance, not popularity contests.
Yeah, I know. But what's your email? I'll just send you the link real quick. You can vote like 100 times a day. They'll never know.
To be clear, Progressive has your back for insurance only. So get a quote and see if you can save.
So what I'm hearing is there's a little bit of wiggle room.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch with your first alert forecast. We'll be tracking highs towards lower 50s this afternoon, then late overnight into Thursday morning. Could see a few isolated chances of some showers. Will clear throughout the day, a high of 53 Thursday. Friday and Saturday going to be the days to be out and about. A lot more sunshine, highs close to 70 degrees Friday into Saturday, 64 degrees as a cold front pushes through. Then some chances of some rain-snow mixtures as we head off Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday into next week. Keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shane Scotch.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Two sounds that can wreck your sleep. A drip and a toilet that won't stop running.
Drip, drip, all night.
Good news. We're doing plumbing now. Same folks, same care, same we do it right.
Leaky faucet, running toilet.
Or a stubborn clog, call Grasser.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Mike Ferguson.
Read the room, buddy!
Susie Moore.
I'm tired of your shenanigans.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Don't be kind. Don't be gentle. Pimp slap the tut-tutters.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin Rob.
All right, let's go down the checklist here. Accomplishments bragged about, check.
Check.
Big goals and promises being made by the politicians, check.
Check.
Goofy antics from fringe leftists, check.
Double check.
Al Green getting thrown out on schedule, check.
Check.
And a dramatic entrance by the Olympians.
Oh, yeah.
That was all part of last night at the State of the Union address. And I got to tell you, and I'm trying to do this as objectively as I can. When you look at who won the night, because the left wants to make their statements, the Democrats, the fringe Democrats want to make their statements. You look at the sound bites and you look at the visuals, you look at the clips. I don't see how anybody can come to any other conclusion that this was a momentum-building night for the president in particular as he heads into the midterms and at some point, a lame duck session, whatever that's going to look like for him down the road. But I do think there's a lot of momentum that was built last night. And then you have to ask the question, and listen, I minored in political science, okay? So I've got a little bit of background on this. I've worked for one presidential campaign, but other campaigns. So I say this in as much of a political sciencey way as possible. What the hell were the Democrats thinking with their antics? I mean, from an academic standpoint, we're visiting now with Tony Kinnett. I mean, I'm a communications guy. I've got a degree in communications. I've got a minor in political science, and I'm thinking, who got drunk enough to tell you that that's what you should do if you want to win over the people in the middle, Tony?
I mean, I'm caught on a couple of things here. So first of all, Donald Trump absolutely blew away my expectations. I actually thought, and I said it confidently, smugly, as we pundits often do, he was going to get up there. He was going to sit for a half an hour, 45 minutes on tariffs. He was probably going to call out a SCOTUS justice. It was going to be a little uncomfortable at parts. And then there were going to be some things where he just rabbit trails off. Nope. He stayed remarkably on point. The rabbit trails were remarkably few. He said a lot of unifying things. Al Green held up a sign and then covered the A. So instead the sign read, "Black people rent apes," which I don't think is the message he was trying to convey. I was very confused. And then on the flip side, while you didn't have Rashida Tlaib mouthing the words KKK to the USA chant, you had 15 different assorted Democrat counter programs. It was like a herd of cats in which a grown man in a giraffe costume, and I'm not kidding, got up in front of the entire crowd and went, "Hey guys, I was arrested by ICE 13 times. And then picked up a harmonica. I swear to God, that is what happened last night, and I still can't believe it.
Okay, so let's break this down into a couple of different things. Let's first let's start where the president had. I mean, obviously, every president's going to say, here are the accomplishments, here's why things are better. You want to back sell, for lack of a better term, what you've been doing and your policies. But what do you think? What do you think last night's State of the Union address accomplished as far as what the president wants Congress to do now? Was there a momentum builder on anything?
Yeah, so he made it very clear what he wants. So thing number one that he wants voter ID. Thing number two, he wants legislation passed that actually benefits the American people. All right, this is the kind of thing that he's looking for. Of course, he also celebrated a lot of American accomplishments, but when it came to pointing his attention at Congress, he called out John Thune, said voter ID, it's what's needed, it's where we need to be. This needs to be at the top of mind. He talked about banning insider trading. Tim McBride stood up, and then he, of the skirt-wearing dudes class, turned around and looked at Nancy Pelosi, who was sitting down, of course, because she loves insider trading, and then he sat right back down. So at least the momentum on the right as far as Congress is there. I think Trump is revving that up. The big thing that Trump did for Congress, though, is said, I'm the unifier. I'm the unifier, and all of these people, they are crazy. I mean, and they were.
Yeah.
It took a little while for the decorum to kind of wear off for them, but once it wore off bad. And so, yeah, as far as Congress is concerned, momentum was built, and it was built in the unity side, which for Trump, again, bizarre but welcome.
Yeah, and just to follow up on the "these people are crazy" thing, the funny thing about Congressman McBride, of course, he kind of runs around as trying to say, call me Sarah, and he's wearing a dress, is that he was interviewed after that. And what was your impression? And one of the first things he said was, the president isn't telling the truth.
Takes a lot of balls to say that.
Oh, man, I'm thinking, okay, so if we're going to focus on truth, and the cameras at certain times went right to him, they knew what they were doing. And it was really quite the production. So let's talk about the left. Obviously, there's a captive audience to the president, whoever the president is. When the Democrats are in power, hey, this is their platform. Right now, the Republicans are in power. This is their platform. But they want to make their point. The only point they made is, we're mad. I mean, I don't know how anybody looks at those antics and says, oh, yeah, let me reconsider what I'm hearing. I mean, you're almost better off just scowling and sitting there than you are doing what some of them were doing.
This is what I was really looking forward to talking to you about. This is the big takeaway from last night. This is really the true thing. Democrats are truly scattered. And I mean that in a way that I don't think we have seen, because the Pelosi era of her House speakership, leader of the Democratic Party, was so rank and file, ducks in a row. There were 8, and I mean really, we counted them up last night, end of the broadcast, 8 different counter programs. You had the Swamp of the Union, where you had the harmonica playing Giraffe Man. I still can't believe that happened. It might have been a fever dream. Then you had, goodness gracious, Joy Reid on the steps of the Capitol, sort of, with this other People's State of the Union thing. And then you had those on the other side, because some people wanted to be on camera. Others wanted to be on camera where they knew people were going to be watching. And so they were inside. Some were sitting, some were scowling, some were like really small, illegible buttons about Epstein. Ro Khanna accidentally or on purposely brought who he said was a victim of Epstein, actually was one of the people who trafficked children to Epstein. Ro Khanna brought one of the pro-pedo people to the State of the Union. My God. I mean, I've never seen a party so, I mean, poor Hakeem Jeffries has to be on suicide watch at this point. Seriously, I've never seen a man look so depressed, looking at the children in front of him going, there's not enough time to get these kids' grades up by the end of the year.
Oh, man. And then you've got the rebuttal from now Governor Abigail Spanberger. And here's part of what she said.
Oh, yeah, that was the other one. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, here's part of what she said.
Students organizing school walkouts all across the country, whose voices are becoming so powerful that the governor of Texas seeks to silence them. We see it in the bravery of Americans in Minnesota standing up for their communities.
Who is that marketing to?
I mean, I guess, I'm sorry, all of the jokes that I have are just very inappropriate for FCC air this morning. I mean, honestly, I think the biggest joke in the room, I thought the worst thing that she said was on the green energy thing, because you have a governor who is trying to drag Virginia kicking and screaming to green energy, which is going to hike energy prices, saying Americans are really feeling the energy prices right now. It's like, ma'am, look at yourself in the mirror, please. But aside from the just another Botox left-leaning blonde lady getting up in front of the country and talking, I guess it was marginally more entertaining than Elisa Slotkin last year, if there was any difference at all. I mean, she thinks everything is brave, everything is stunning, everything is great. Awesome. Again, Hakeem Jeffries pinching the bridge of his nose, really depressed. Who is that inspiring? And I think that's the question, Mike. I don't have an answer for you. I don't have a minor in political science like some individuals on the station, but
well,
I mean,
just saying.
All it gave me was constipation. I felt like Cory Booker.
We're visiting with Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal and, of course, the Tony Kinnett Show podcast here as well. Okay, so let's also talk about that big visual, which this was, I think, probably one of the strongest visuals that the president had, just paraphrasing. Stand if you think the federal government should put American citizens before illegal aliens. Not one single Democrat stands up. They were had for that moment. No. And that is going to, I would think, last from now until the ads in the election cycle in August and November.
So it will last. Will it be effective by that time? I doubt it. And don't get me wrong, I think it was a very powerful moment. But the idea is like, we found the election campaign. It's like, okay, well, that we've done that before, and it didn't necessarily pull big bucks. So once we temper that realization, yeah, it looked freaking awful.
Yeah.
Now, I always appreciate how there are Democrats who nobody knows. And this is always a slam on, us as hosts who it pans to this random Democrat who looks like he was about to fall asleep and or die. And I thought, who is this Mitt Romney discount Temu great value man? I have no idea who this is, and I'm supposed to know. I still don't know who he is. Honestly, it could have been some random guest somebody brought in that like the discount CEO of Pfizer. I don't know. And stuck him there, and he looked upset. All the other Democrats were upset that Trump was talking about citizens. Talib and Omar were heckling like the immigrant lesbian mock-up of the Muppet hecklers. It was just a weird reaction to Trump's very basic unifying citizen comment thing. The same with the they some of them clapped for the hockey players, but they wouldn't clap for Irina Zarutska's mom.
Right.
Like, what is wrong with these people? And again, Trump knew that going in. I mean, he played that, seeing the reaction he got last year to the not standing or clapping thing. He just played that the entire time. Whenever there was any crowd interaction, that's what it was about. And it's way better that it was that than him reading a list of my favorite Supreme Court justices. I mean, that played better. I'm just going to say it.
Okay, so last minute or so, we've got Tony. What this is, I do think that this is some momentum on the side of the president and his agenda at the moment. These things fade quickly, but what is it that he should use this to capitalize on the most? And then conversely, right after that, can the Democrats pull any momentum out of this event? Because this is what the whole country's talking about for the next 24 hours.
So can they pull momentum out of this event, like rabbit out of a hat? No, they can't. The best that they can hope for is for Republicans to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. I think Republicans and the president, what he needs to capitalize on, this kind of speech was good because it wasn't going all in on some of the stuff that end up making all of the news and the media clips and things like that. Keep it up. Do this kind of thing. Focus on the Senate. I would say also turn the IRGC into a parking lot, wipe out a cartel, lower energy prices, keep it going. Q2 is going to hit. Tax returns are going to come in. That's going to be good. Democrats, what do they need to hope for? I guess that the giraffe harmonica man doesn't come back. I mean, but that just usually means not taking too much Benadryl before bed.
That could be. I mean, and the giraffe man's, his name wasn't Stunning and Brave?
I don't remember what his name is. He just said he's been arrested from ICE 3 times, and then he played Act Blues Traveler.
For God's sake. Okay. All right. So, Tony, let's put the website. So we already tagged you on social media. People want to catch your podcast or work on Daily Signal. The way to be in touch is what?
You find me over at Twitter at TheTonus, TheTonus, or Daily Signal, YouTube, Rumble, that kind of a thing. You'll find me.
All right. We'll talk to you again soon, man. Thanks so much.
You got it, guys.
All right. The reaction from the president's speech. We'll give you another one of those clips from Governor Spanberger, just in case you're a little too hyper right now and you need to, feel the sleep coming on again. And we do have an update on that tragic situation in Southwest Missouri. We know a little bit more about the man who murdered 2 sheriff's deputies. We'll say about that in the news dump right around 8:21.
You have a soul sewn up, it is no more. And all the ones depart, no destination. You're making cold mind to fight your war. Stop it right now.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Someone in that control room is out of control.
On News Talk STL.
Stop it right now before you blow us all away.
If you love your pet, which I know you do, then they deserve the excellent treatment and care they'll receive at Pacific Animal Hospital in Pacific, Missouri. A full-service veterinarian facility. Originally built and grown by my dad, Dr. Bill Jones, a new generation of wonderful veterinarians and staff at Pacific continue to provide outstanding medical, surgical, dental, boarding, and grooming services for your favorite furry friends. Our family entrusts the care of our pets only to the experienced docs and staff at Pacific Animal Hospital. You should too. Call them today, 636-257-2100, 24/7 at PacificVets.com, PacificVets.com.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Brought to you by Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, and Heroes Care.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Do you own a timeshare?
Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
When they called me broken, I knew. When they called me evil, I knew.
Let's get back to all this madcap mayhem with Mike Ferguson in the morning. But don't forget, stick around for Jones and Arps every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m.
Okay, the news flash of the day. Republicans loved the State of the Union address and Democrats hated it.
Shocking.
Just in case you weren't sure about that. All right, an area school district takes action on dozens of books being challenged because of explicit content. Also, the Billikens run in the rankings probably over. I'll tell you why. It's 8:21 right now. Let's go ahead and do one more news dump.
Successful dump.
Wake up, America.
It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, President Trump doubling down on tariffs and his immigration policy during his State of the Union address last night.
Just days after the Supreme Court struck down his global tariffs, the president said he will continue with tariffs through other regulations and that the tariffs will
substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax.
With justices sitting a few feet away, he described their ruling as unfortunate. The president also defended his administration's efforts to deport undocumented immigrants, and he announced Vice President Vance will lead a new effort called the War on Fraud. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And by the way, if you want to relive that conversation we just had with Tony Kinnett, and why wouldn't you? You can find that on our podcast here in just a little bit. That's a good one to, frankly, share on your social media. That one was not only informative, but that was a lot of fun.
I was honestly not expecting him to actually own a harmonica.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, check out the podcast here in just a little bit.
All right, the rebuttal from the Democrats came from newly elected Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger. And let's just say that she saw the issues and the speech a little bit differently.
The president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. And he offered no real solutions to our nation's pressing challenges, so many of which he is actively making worse.
By the way, did you know the State of the Union set a record last night?
Oh.
It did. And I'm actually not making this up. It actually was the longest State of the Union address in U.S. history.
Well, there's a lot to talk about.
We talked about a lot, but it actually is now the longest on record.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Southwest Missouri. We actually spoke with Elijah Haar about this from KWTO in the Springfield area, also former Speaker of the House. The man who killed 2 sheriff's deputies in Southwest Missouri after a traffic stop and then a resulting shootout. That man had a history of violence against police, it turns out.
And they still decided to let him go back to society, knowing that he saw nothing wrong with actually confronting and fighting police officers.
Yeah, so if you want to get the details on that aspect of it, once again, go to the podcast and listen to our discussion with Elijah Haar. Richard Byrd was convicted, as Jerome's referring to. Richard Byrd was convicted of aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer in Kansas in 2016. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison for that crime. It looks like he served a total of 7, which is pretty much par for the course for an 8-year sentence. When the shooting happened Monday and then the manhunt and the shootout on Tuesday, Byrd was actually out on bail, and that was connected with 2 separate theft charges in Stone County, Missouri. So this guy had a long criminal history. Byrd was killed in that shootout, by the way. He killed Christian County deputies Gabriel Ramirez and Michael Hispol. And 2 other deputies, Josh Wall from Christian County as well, and Austin McCall from Webster County, were shot, but they survived.
If you're going to let people like this out of prison, like, why not send them to Alaska or some sort of wilderness like that where they're not going to, I don't know, go back to the same thing that they did that got them locked up in the first place?
Yeah, they can fight the bears then at that point. And see how it
Yeah.
works, yeah. All right. A woman with close ties to former St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones is sentenced to 3 years in prison. KMOV's Corey Stark reported on this case last night.
Corey Elliott is a contractor whose companies received numerous city contracts and grants over the last several years. In November, she pleaded guilty to federal wire fraud charges in connection to pandemic relief funds. Well, today, Elliott was sentenced to prison and ordered to repay the $1.7 million she acquired through fraud.
Okay, so those loans were obtained through 2 businesses, and they were among the loans, by the way, before the charges were filed and before the prosecution happened. But those were among the many, many loans, quote unquote, forgiven by the government. And when I say quote unquote, I don't think that the government ever intended to recollect these. They called them loans, but they were just big money giveaways, which was part of the inflation process. But she had 2 different business entities on file, and she got that $1.7 million from basically 3 different grants for those 2 business entities.
It's really incredible when you look at how many people from the Tashara administration or within her orbit even have been convicted or charged with fraud and embezzlement and all sorts of other
And
crimes.
then you look at the members of the Board of Aldermen as well during that time. Yeah, it was just a massive. And then, of course, you had, that was the era of, the prosecuting, the circuit attorney, all that sort of thing. So it was just a mess that the city, frankly, is making some progress in cleaning up. So good on the new ones.
That's good.
Okay, the Utah judge presiding in the case against Tyler Robinson, of course, being the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk, that judge dismissed a motion by the defense. Okay, this is a little complicated. The defense tried to disqualify the state prosecuting attorneys. Okay, that was the motion that they had, was to say, hey, they have a conflict of interest. The conflict of interest that they were arguing was that one of the state prosecutor's daughter was at the event at Utah Valley University where Charlie Kirk was killed. So that's why they said, well, you have a daughter there, therefore, she was in the crowd, therefore these prosecutors have a conflict of interest, trying to get them removed, which would basically just be a way to stall the trial and to give more time to do a plea bargain or try to shore up your case. But here's how Judge Groff ruled on that.
The court is persuaded by the evidence presented that daughter is not being called to testify because she has no uniquely relevant testimony to give, and the state has access to much stronger evidence from other witnesses.
Okay, prosecutors plan to seek the death penalty against Tyler Robinson. He has actually not entered a plea yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the right call from the judge, in my opinion. If it was the defense attorney's daughter that had been there, I can see that maybe being a bigger conflict of interest. But if you're already prosecuting the individual and your daughter was there, I can't imagine that being some sort of, conflict of interest when it comes to the case.
Yeah. Okay, Francis Howell Families tells us about 2/3 of the books that are being challenged because of explicit and other inappropriate content are actually being removed or restricted from the school libraries. We spoke with school board member Jane Puszkar about that a little bit ago. Again, that's going to be up on the podcast here in a little bit. So if you're not subscribed to News Talk STL's podcast, or specifically to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning one, that's where you're going to find these discussions. So the next time one of your leftist friends says, you conservatives are trying to ban books, you're trying to burn books, okay, send them that podcast because we explain the difference.
Yeah, and remind them we're not banning books, we're deporting them out of public schools.
Exactly. So a committee was put together to review the challenged books, and so far they've agreed about 64% of the time with the challenges. So far, 22 books have been removed completely due to explicit sexual content. And I read some of the excerpts. Explicit sexual content that is being paid for by taxpayers and given to minors. So nobody's arguing that these books should be illegal, but they are saying schools shouldn't be giving them to children.
Yeah, they can stay in a public library somewhere else, or you can buy them off wherever bookstore you go to.
Yeah.
But why are these being made accessible to people that this does not serve an educationary purpose for?
And the reality is that there's a shield between the parents and the students during those school hours. So, this is, if you want to buy that, like you said, Jerome, if you want to buy that and even give it to your own kids, you can buy it on Amazon. you might be able to go to the public library. They probably still have that. Or you know what? You can go to the store on the east side. They probably have it there as well. All right, the Billikens' run in the national rankings is probably over after this week. I'm predicting right now that the Billikens fall out of the national top 25 altogether. SLU lost to Dayton on the road last night. Final score 77-62. Billikens came into the game ranked 23rd in the nation, but they have lost twice over the last 2 weeks. Both of those losses to unranked teams. They are 25-3 on the season, so they're still having an incredible season. They are in first place in the Atlantic 10 by 1 game. They've got a 1-game lead over VCU. They are going to the NCAA tournament, but I really think that starting next week, they're out of the national rankings. UFL announces new rules for the 2026 season. Among them, this is going to be interesting, any field goals that are kicked from at least 60 yards out, 4 points, not 3 points.
Ooh.
Changes the strategy.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting to see that. Go to the UFL's or the Battlehawks social media platforms, and you can see all of the new rules described there.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Chance Koch with your first alert forecast. We'll be tracking highs towards lower 50s this afternoon, then late overnight into Thursday morning. Could see a few isolated chances of some showers. Will clear throughout the day, a high of 53 Thursday. Friday and Saturday going to be the days to be out and about. A lot more sunshine, highs close to 70 degrees Friday into Saturday, 64 degrees as a cold front pushes through. Then some chances of some rain-snow mixtures as we head off Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday into next week. Keep a close eye on that. From the First Alert 4 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Chance Koch.
Fox News commentary with Guy Benson next.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
Here's Guy Benson.
Mr. Mamdani is putting out this $127 billion annual budget in New York City. And he's very concerned because there is a budget gap of $5.5 billion. And so he's trying to figure out how do we close that massive gap. And surprise, surprise, he is proposing tax increases. He is also cutting NYPD. This is a defund the police radical. We talked about this during the campaign. He was on the record multiple times over, talked about defunding the police. He said, not fake cuts. We want real cuts. Defund the police. He called New York City's police department a public safety threat. And then when he was running for mayor, he's like, well, you know, never mind. I didn't really mean all of that, even though I said it as a full-blown adult.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion before the age of 45 in this country. That's the tragedy we must work to stop. Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show here, and that is why Reach Reproductive Health is here, to empower parents to save the lives of innocent children and to see these families come to Christ. And you can be a part of saving and changing lives. So pray and visit outreachforlife.org to learn more, volunteer, and donate. That's outreachforlife.org.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
NPR, guess what? Got defunded, and they're going to close down operations. If they're not going to get federal funding, well, then guess what? There are plenty of radio salespeople out there in the United States who can sell time, big time. You know why they don't sell hire a sales team? Because nobody will buy advertising because they suck so bad.
Oh my God!
You don't see people.
You're so correct. That's it right there.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Looking for unbelievable deals? Stop by Overstock Outlet in Lake St. Louis or Warrenton. Open 7 days a week. Discover big savings on a huge variety of merchandise with no hassle. Just great prices. Visit us in Lake St. Louis on Highway N or in Warrenton on Boones Lake. Check out our Facebook page at Overstock Outlet Lake St. Louis. Or go online to OverstockOutletSTL.com. Unbeatable value, friendly service, and you never know what we'll have at Overstock Outlet.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Wherever I'm at, home, car, wherever.
Download the all-new NewsTalkSTL app.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Just the convenience on the phone.
Streaming live on the mobile app.
Love the new app.
And listen anytime.
Everywhere.
Anywhere.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Today would have been Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz's 25th birthday.
Golden birthday.
Today. Yep. He'd be 25 years old today. It's almost hard to imagine. He's been gone almost 5 years.
Wow.
You know, I remember when the debacle in Kabul happened. We were on the air. We were new on the air here, but I covered that live for Colombo and Katie's show. You know, obviously now it's Colombo and Company. But I stationed myself up off of I-70 and 5th Street in St. Charles for the procession, and basically provided kind of a live video feed with my phone and called in updates during the show. And I've covered a lot of things back from my time as a reporter. You know, I've covered a lot of high-profile funerals and processions over the years. I don't remember experiencing anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was an entire region that it came to a standstill. And that's what we saw in this massive parade to honor somebody who was 20 years old at the time, not even legally allowed to have a beer in this country. And he was gone. And in such large part because of horrific strategic and policy decisions by the previous administration. And I'm not going to make this political because it's not. But those are the real world consequences. And so watching that, you know, vehicle after vehicle after vehicle, and then watching people's, you know, faces and seeing all the American flags and seeing people just so somber, grieving for somebody that they never met and had never heard of before this happened. So something about Jared Schmitz reached out and connected with people. You know, now I'm proud to say that his dad and I have become friends over the years since then, and Mark's on the program quite a bit. And, you know, they donated that flag to us that's right behind Jerome right here in the studio that has the list of all of the Freedom 13, every one of the servicemen and women who were killed that day. But today would have been Jared's birthday, like I said, and so the Freedom 13 is actually still having a party. And go to the freedom13.org, and what they're doing is they are going to basically kind of hang out at a bar, you know, at a not a club, but, you know, Town Square Pub and Grill, at TS Sugar Shack, starting at 6 p.m. tonight. Get some food, get some drinks. They're going to celebrate Jared. They're going to promote the freedom13.org and the Freedom 13 work and what they're building in Bourbon, Missouri, with the retreat camp for not just veterans and their families, but also first responders and their families, for those who need that sort of cathartic getaway. And so that's going to happen. I don't think there's any charge to go. They may be taking donations there, but get more information at thefreedom13.org and look for that tonight, and just kind of be there, kind of show your support. Even if nothing else, just be there to show your support. And then also, of course, the big gala is coming up this week on Thursday or Friday. But here's the thing is, what they're probably gonna have a significant part of their fundraiser from is that silent auction. Mm-hmm. And you do not have to go to the gala to be able to bid on the items for the silent auction. Matter of fact, about 2.5 hours ago, the silent auction opened up. And so right now, if you go to thefreedom13.org and you just click on the gala, it'll take you to the event page, and then you'll see a link for silent auction. And then you can look at everything they've got there, and they've got some pretty cool stuff, like a bottle of whiskey signed by Conor McGregor, you know, the UFC fighter, and so, you know, there's a lot of unique things that they've got there. But that is all going to help support that mission for the retreat camp for veterans and first responders and their families. And it's going to help them build that. Remember, what they want to do is put one of these in every single state in the country, so that veterans and first responders who have been through it, that they never have to go too far if that's what they need.
Yeah, there's something that I've learned over the years is that military families and veterans are oftentimes some of the most fun people to actually party and engage with.
Yeah.
And they also like some of the cool stuff that you would never even expect to exist, such as a signed
Right.
Connor. That's absolutely fantastic. So either way, I mean, you're in for a good time. It is unfortunate the circumstances that are bringing people together, but I think it is a very it's almost like an inspiring thing to see so many people willing to come around to honor somebody that had such courage and bravery at such a young age, was in a situation where there was a lot of failures when it came to actually ensuring the safety of our troops and the people in that environment. But sometimes tragedy leads to some of the best outcomes, if that makes sense. And it's incredible that the families that have been affected are saying, well, we want to make sure that we can provide an outlet for other families like that as well, not just our own grief, but to come together, provide that support network, get people involved. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this is why they call it the ultimate sacrifice, for him. But the credit to Jared Schmidt's family, Mark and his wife and Jared's, mother, they have harnessed to capitalize kind of what you were saying, Jerome, is they've harnessed and they've capitalized all of this pain and all of this grief, and they are turning it into something that is going to benefit people who are still here but still dealing with the after effects of war and everything that they go through. And so, yeah, that's what's kind of amazing about it. I have to be somewhere late this afternoon that's on the other side of the metro area, so I can't make it tonight. I really wish that I could, but I'm not going to be able to get there. But just go to thefreedom13.org, and you can be a part of it. I mean, just that's where they're going to be. They've got live music that's going to be there, so it's going to be a party in the celebration of his life, and it's going to be a celebration of what they're wanting to do in his memory. And at the meantime, you're not going to a funeral service; you're going to a party. Because if somebody's life is worth celebrating, then you celebrate it, and that's really what they're doing.
Yeah, 101 Straight Up also points out, from ashes rise hope.
Oh, that's good. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and that's
precisely.
And if something ever happened to me as well, I would not want people to be doom and gloom about it. I want people to have a great time, because I want people that can celebrate. That's exactly what this is. It's a birthday party, even though the person that was whose birthday it was supposed to be is not going to be there. They would want you to have a great time remembering who they were and celebrate the fact that they walked this planet with us.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So check that out. Okay. So for the rest of the day, at least, by the end of the week, we will have moved on from other things from the State of the Union address. But oh my goodness, today, the thing is that anything with President Trump in office, that it's not going to be the same old as to what we're used to. I mean, how long has it been that we just assumed the State of the Union address was just dry and boring and a bunch of politicians jabbering on? Well, with Donald Trump, you never know what's going to happen. And that's what happened last night. And the thing is that the leftists, they play right into his hands with their antics. And he basically said, I'm going to present you with the opportunity to show the world that you're crazy. They walked right into it. And then he, from the dais, said, look, these people are crazy.
It was, I'm not going to say I appreciated the antics of the Democrats, because a lot of that was just nonsense. But one of the interesting things when I was going through and trying to look up what people were talking about regarding the State of the Union is it brought me back to when Biden gave his last State of the Union, and just the contrast in not only the tone and the energy, but the the themes. I watched some of the clips of Biden's old State of the Union, and it really felt like I took a sedative. It was about to get knocked out on the couch there.
Like a lobotomy.
Exactly. Yeah. I felt it was just mind numbing. But then you turn back, and I mean, ignoring some of the performative nonsense and I don't even know what the Democrats are trying to even achieve there.
That's where I'm at. I have no idea what they thought they were going to accomplish. Who were they going to inspire? Who were they going to motivate? I have no idea.
But I did feel that spark of patriotism rise back within me, listening to some of what was being said. So it's incredible how much of a difference 1 or 2 years between two polar opposites can really make when it comes to, and from what I'm seeing as well, there are a lot of people that I know that are not the most fanatic Trump supporters right now, but they saw that and they said, okay, this gives me a little bit of something to clean back onto. Like well done, great State of the Union, the hockey team, fantastic.
I mean, the hockey team thing was brilliant. It really was. I mean, listen, I critique President Trump when I think he's wrong. You know, I give him credit when I think that he's right. I just try to call balls and strikes. I'm not the biggest Donald Trump fan. I disagree with him on a lot of his policy. I think he gets a lot of stuff right, and I think he's accomplished some things that nobody else would have been able to accomplish. But there's no way you can look at what happened at the State of the Union and come to any other conclusion than this was a big win for him. I'm not even going to say necessarily Republicans in Congress, but for him and his agenda. Now, you can like or not like his agenda, but that was a big win for him, and he basically spiked the football on the heads of the Democrats last night.
It was almost like watching Michael Jordan do his, like from the three-point line slam dunking in a lot of ways. It was incredible. Now, it also reminds me, though, that if yesterday was Tuesday, that makes today Wednesday, which would make that Bump Day.
Bump Day!
The day where we start calling for your requests for 80s themed bump music. And this week, just to keep that spirit going, what are your patriotic and your victory lap songs?
Yeah.
I want the songs of the 80s that when your team crushed it in a game, that you were just all hyped up. What song came to mind that you wanted to hear over the loudspeakers?
Especially if it's America winning.
America.
But either way, yeah, I love that. Your victory songs, your American victory songs, your America song. There's a lot of them out there. I thought of like 5 of them right when you said that.
Absolutely. So get those to me, Jerome at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning
Democrats produce mobs. Republicans produce jobs.
on Newstalk STL.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
It's more than a rebellion. When your teen is slipping into drugs or alcohol, when social media and pornography consume their time and their mind, when depression and even suicidal thoughts cast a shadow over your home, as a parent, you feel powerless. There is hope. At Turnabout Ranch, troubled teens step away from the chaos and into a clarity of nature on a working cattle ranch. Care for horses, learn responsibility, build trust, and rediscover purpose. It isn't theory, it's real work. Real therapy, real healing. Families from across the country have found transformation right here, just when they thought hope was gone. If your teen is struggling with addiction, harmful online behaviors, even weight management, call right now and get the help you all need.
800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. 800-219-2494. That's 800-219-2494.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
The Supreme Court has agreed to hear from oil and gas companies trying to block climate change lawsuits. We'll talk to Melanie Collette from CFACT about that Wednesday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9
on Newstalk STL.
Hey folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on Newstalk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Okay, so pre-State of the Union address, we were looking at the polymarket betting.
Yes.
Okay, so were there big winners and big losers on this one?
Yeah, so at the time that we were checking it, of course, we're a morning show, so not everybody that gambles woke up at the point. But there were some very clear winners and losers. Where did that go? And some of the ones that were actual wins, I mean, some of them you kind of expected. Some of the losses, though, I was actually
let's start there.
So just a reminder, the way this works is that there is a the title of this betting pool was "What Will Trump Say During the State of the Union Address?" And the way it works is that it's either a phrase or a specific word, and it has to be, so it doesn't matter the context, it just has to have been said.
But it has to be like those words, not that's what he meant. It had to be those
specific
actual
words. So America/American being said 50 plus times, that was a yes. So if you voted that you think that's going to happen, the betting pool for that one was about $250,000. And again, these are like 50 to 60 cent votes. These are, not very large bets. The entire betting pool actually was $3.4 million for all of these. So if you got all of them right, then that was, you got a chunk of that. Jobs being said 20 plus times during the entire State of the Union was a no. That did not happen 20 times.
Interesting. Yeah.
Biden being mentioned 10 plus times did not happen.
See, and that's actually, I'm actually kind of glad that one. I think there are too many Republicans who are hanging on to Biden bashing. The country has moved on from Joe Biden. He is not a factor. He was barely a factor when he was towards the end of his term in president. Nobody cares about Biden anymore. So that's actually a good move on President Trump's part.
Now, these four particular ones kind of stood out to me as well. So Kamala/Harris was not mentioned apparently at all.
Oh, okay.
Kennedy, as in Robert F. Kennedy.
Okay, sure.
Or the term autism was not mentioned.
Now, see, I'm a little surprised that RFK wasn't, because the president is like really big on what RFK is doing. And RFK is one of the few cabinet members who's actually appealing to some people on the left, because RFK is like a really big government guy. I mean, he's a leftist, so I'm a little surprised that wasn't more prominent in the speech.
The phrase, the words Middle East, apparently were not mentioned. They may have mentioned places in the Middle East, but the actual words, according to, and they also had like web crawlers and bots that were consulting news articles being published and transcripts being posted. So that's also, helping confirm this. Make America Great Again /MAGA apparently did not come up.
Really?
That's according to Polymarket. The pool was $37,000 something, and the people that won were the ones that bet that would not happen.
Huh? Like a certain number of times, or not at all?
Not at all. So this just says, will Trump say this during the State of the Union address? MAGA/Make America Great Again apparently was not said.
That's fascinating.
Now, I did not personally watch every single minute of it, so I can't confirm.
I'm trying to think back. I'm like, of everything that I watched, because I mean, this thing goes on about when I'm going to bed, and so I'm watching as much of it as I can after the fact, and I didn't even think to listen for that, because I think we've got that phrase so embedded with our concept of Donald Trump that I'm just surprised that wasn't ever said.
Mr. Speaker was not said.
Wait, but it has to be. That's part of the protocol. Or maybe he said Speaker Johnson.
That may have been the case. Now, so and again, this is specifically for Trump saying it. It's not anybody else involved in.
But the protocol is, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So maybe he said Speaker Johnson.
Maybe he said, I didn't even listen for that. It didn't even register with it. But because that's like just the standard protocol.
And that was one of the ones that most people were voting. They were bidding yes. So if you were one of the naysayers, you probably got a pretty good payout on that.
Okay, yeah.
Epstein was not mentioned.
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought that, and honestly, I don't know, because like Scooter a little bit earlier on social media, because we asked what was your best and worst, and he mentioned that he didn't even acknowledge the Epstein survivors.
Yeah.
So that's a landmine for both parties, period. So maybe they just thought it was easier to stay away from it. The Democrats bringing out the Epstein survivors, I'm glad the Epstein survivors are getting the attention, but the Democrats don't have a lot of solid ground they don't have the moral high ground on this. Let's put it, neither party has moral high ground on this.
Trump card /gold card.
Oh, yeah, for the immigration thing.
Yeah, was not mentioned.
Yeah, that one, I don't know how popular that is. I don't know that's gone over real well.
But Nicki Minaj bought one, and she posted it all over social media, so you would expect that to maybe try to leverage that to say, look, if we can get Nicki Minaj to do it, then maybe...
Is she not an American?
I think she just did it for the sake of having one. I don't actually. I've avoided. I'm sorry. I don't care.
I don't know anything about Nicki Minaj, but
I don't care how popular she's getting with the right. They're not going to trick me into listening to her music.
Wouldn't that be like me applying for citizenship, even though I was literally born 50 miles from the exact center of the United States of America? That would be kind of the same thing, wouldn't it?
But if they gave you your birth certificate, but it was gold plated, would you not spend a little bit of money on that? The word egg was said.
Yeah.
So that one was an interesting, like a 50-50 either way kind of thing.
See, I would have thought. I would have bet on that. I'm not a gambler because one of the key things that we judge affordability, gasoline, price of eggs, and some other commodities. But that's like a common thing. And I bought a dozen eggs last week at the store, and I think it was $1.40 something. And I remember when it was $4 and something.
Now, one of the bigger pools that I'm actually surprised that people were voting on or bidding into this pool more than the other phrases, the 6-7 meme.
That
did not happen.
Yeah, of course it didn't happen.
But the entire pool for that, and that was one of the lower ones we were talking about yesterday. Yeah. It rose to 93,000 for the entirety of the bets.
Because anybody can put these up there, right? So I mean, come on, somebody was just pranking people. Like, oh, I'm gonna give them to bet on this. There was zero chance that was gonna happen.
Now, some of the ones that did happen that I think we all probably saw were going to happen. So, drill, baby, drill. That was mentioned by President Trump. Nuclear, Supreme Court, obviously, I think.
Oh, sure.
That was almost guaranteed to happen.
Yeah, because if nothing else, even if he didn't talk about the ruling, you typically acknowledge the Supreme Court justices there.
Yes.
Just in the intro thing.
Miracle. The word miracle apparently was uttered at some point by President Trump.
Oh, see, I probably wouldn't have bet on that one. I would have lost.
Now, this one, fake news, did not.
That's shocking.
I am actually...
Are you telling me the truth, or is this fake news?
This is probably market news.
Yeah, there you go.
The auto pen was not brought up. That's probably for the best.
Yeah. Again, move on from Biden, everybody. Everybody knows that he's a schmuck who doesn't even know what's going on around him. The conservatives, Republicans, MAGA, all three of you, because they're not all the same thing. Move on. Nobody cares about Biden anymore.
Alien, which again, it didn't say contest, but the word alien was said, so that pool rose to be just under 69,000. That's okay. Which is probably a safe bet. I mean, illegal alien.
The funny part of that is that it could have been either the illegal immigrant, or it also could have been the space aliens because of what's happened in the last couple of weeks with Barack Obama cracking his jokes on the podcast.
No. So that's 3 no's.
Okay.
That was uttered.
Oh, okay.
And I guess anything in 3s would be kind of a safe bet, though. I mean, Russia. No. So that was interesting. IQ did not get brought up. I would have imagined that there would be some very low IQ person. Yeah. My IQ is much bigger than their. I could have imagined something like that happening. And apparently, there were a lot of disappointed people because that one also had a very high yes pool, and this didn't happen.
Yeah, because he's said those things, in his press conferences and in his statements when it comes to like the situation with Somalis in Minnesota.
Yes. Capital of the world, I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that one did not happen, and no mention of the UFC either, apparently.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, interesting stuff there. That was actually kind of fun.